انا
سنيك وسنير.
سنيك.
سنيك وانا.
سلاير وسنيك.
سنيك وسلاير.
سلاير.
لما مثلا ناكل كشري بنخش نبقى جوه الجيم نبقى ضايعين.
كنت لسه داخل التيم مش فاهم اي حاجه وكنت ببراك، فهم عمالين كل شويه كل سترات وانا واقف في النص مش عارف اعمل اي حاجه، مش فاهم اي حاجه.
هو في حاجه يعني انا بنام يعني حنكش في السرير اللي جنبي بيتكلم وهو نايم.
صعب افتكر.
هو ليه علاقه بسنير برضو. كنا في مره بنبراكتس وكنا اكلنا قبلها سمك مش كشري المره دي، فجه في وسط البراكتس قال لك يا جدعان انا دماغي سخنت وما عرفناش نكمل البراكتس. يعني اوفر شويه كده وقام قاعد يرش دماغه انا دماغي سخنت لقينا براكتس بس ما عرفناش نلعب عادي بسبب الاكل. بنحب ناكل وكان نلعب على طول.
لا ما افتكرش حاجه.
حورس.
حورس وتوت.
حورس وتوت وسنيك 3.
انا
توت وحورس.
حورس.
انا وحورس.
حورس.
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 حورس. سنير.
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 لا مفيش.
سنير. صعب تلاقي كل غلط من التيم.
انا
unKnights.
لا مفيش حد معين بعينه، يعني مفيش حد محدد ان احنا عايزين نلعبه.
في الليج بتاعنا ما اعتقدش حد معين، بس ممكن بره يعني عايزين نلعب الفرق اللي بره، البرازيليين والصينيين. ليكويد، تيم ليكويد، وفي الصين مثلا اي جي.
هو مش فريق معين، هو بلاير معين فلير من 3 ساعات.
ما فيش حد بعينه بالذات في الليج عندنا، ما فيش حد بعينه. ممكن بره، ممكن وولف يجي. يس.
محلي مفيش يعني هنا عادي لان الحمد لله مش يعني ماشي الدنيا. اللي عايز اقابله تاني فاسكو، دخلوا فالكونز دلوقتي، هم دول كانوا سبب ان احنا نخرج بس، وحصل كام لقطه كده هناك انا مش مبسوط بسببهم يعني، فدول انا عايز اقابلهم تاني.
ما فيش حد معين، اي حد هيجي على السكه هو عارف بقى.
سنير وسلاير.
سنيك وسنير.
الكل الصراحه يعني الكل ما فيش حد اقل من التاني، هو الكل بيبقى يعني ما فيش عندنا حد مش واثقين فيه ان هو هيعمل حاجه هتكسبنا الراوند او هتكسبنا الجيم عامه، فالكل لا الكل واثق فينا بيعمل حاجه زي كده.
في الكلاتشز اقدر اقول سنير وسلاير.
سلاير وسنير.
سلاير.
حورس.
لا لو في حد هيكنسل بيقول من قبلها يعني.
ايه. حورس.
انا برضه
حورس. حورس.
حورس سعاد.
لا مفيش. لا
انا طبعا عشان انا الاي جي اللي بتاع التيم، فانا اللي هو تيم كابتن.
هو مش اذكى، هو ممكن هو كده بنفكر في الجيم، بس ممكن اقول سنيك وسنير برضه.
سنيك وسلاير.
سنيك.
سلاير.
سلاير وسنيك. اذكى مش عارف، حماده سنيك بس. ما هو دايما يعتبر اكتر واحد احنا كلنا بنفكر، بس هو دايما هو اكتر واحد بيفكر بس، فهو ممكن اي قرار يعمله هو بيبقى يعتبر على حسب ذكائه يعني، فهو بيبقى اذكى واحد فينا يعتبر.
توتزن.
سنيك وحورس.
توت وسنير وسلاير.
بيست انكر. انا
توت. هو كلهم لو اتحطوا في سايت هيقتلوا اي حد يخش عليهم، بس توت ما شاء الله عليه احسن انكر في التيم.
انا بقالي 7 سنين بروفيشنال، ومثلا بقالي بتاع 11 سنه بلعبها عادي.
من 2019 تقريبا كومبيتيتيف، من اول 2019. لا عادي دي من بدري بلعب عادي من بدري، لكن ككومبيتيتيف من 2019 او 2018.
بلعب كومبيتيتيف من 2017.
2017 برو. 2017.
2019.
كومبيتيتيف من 2020.
هدفي الصراحه من غير تكبر يعني ان احنا نحافظ على المركز الاول بتاعنا، اللي هو احنا كنا المركز الاول السنه اللي فاتت، فعايزين نحافظ على ده، ان احنا نبراكتس اكتر عن السنه اللي فاتت، ان احنا نجهز له اكتر، نبقى جاهزين عشان مش يعني ما نستقلش باي حد. انا واثق لان احنا اكسبيرينس بقالنا فتره كبيره مع بعض يعني، فما غيرناش حد من الروستر، فدي حاجه حلوه يعني ان احنا واثقين في بعضنا.
ان شاء الله ان احنا نبقى اول زي السنه اللي فاتت، و تاني حاجه مش الدوري بس، ان احنا ان شاء الله نكسب EWC.
هو ان شاء الله نفضل زي ما احنا باذن الله، نفضل احنا في التوب. يعني زي ما بيقولوا ان انت تطلع القمه دي حاجه سهله، بس انك تفضل فيها دي بتبقى صعبه. فاحنا باذن الله ان شاء الله ده هدفنا، ان احنا نفضل زي ما احنا ونستعد لها بقى زي استعداد اي المفروض. لو انت بتشتغل اكتر، بتقعد مع الكوتش بتاعك اكتر، بنتكلم احنا والفريق على اي حاجه غلطات بنعملها، بنحسن من نفسنا دايما.
اهدافي ان احنا نفضل زي ما احنا كده في الاول، و نبراكتس اكتر، ونفضل اعلى واعلى ان شاء الله.
ان شاء الله ان احنا نفضل اول يعني. تجهيزات بالنسبه لي انا مش تجهيزات كتير على قد ما التيم بيجهز يعني.
فيرست بليس ان شاء الله، وشي حلو عليهم باذن الله.
هو ان شاء الله توب 1، وبنسعى له ان احنا بقى بنعمل اللي علينا. يعني تقريبا بنشتغل كل يوم، وبنشوف بقى ورا الكوتش بقى، بنسمع ورا كلام الكوتش يعني.
ان شاء الله هنعمل اللي علينا السنه دي ونشرفكم ونكسب EWC زي ما قلت.
احب اشكرهم طبعا، وان شاء الله هنعمل اللي علينا السنه دي.
اقول لهم شكرا ان انتوا لسه بتشجعونا، واسفين ان احنا خذلناكم في الصين السنه اللي فاتت، بس باذن الله هنعوض كل ده السنه دي، ويعني ما تسيبوناش كده عادي، افضلوا زي ما انتوا، واحنا باذن الله يعني هنبقى زي ما انتم شايفيننا كده.
بنشكر الناس اللي بتشجعنا، وان شاء الله نكون عند حسن ظنكم.
احب اقول لهم شكرا، وان شاء الله نكون عند حسن ظنكم.
ان شاء الله هنبقى عند حسن ظنكم، وان شاء الله نفضل في التوب.
شكرا ليكم، يا رب تفضلوا تشجعونا نبقى عند حسن ظنكم.
Welcome back to another day in week 4 of CFL West, man. Yesterday, I slept on it, right? Anubis, like there is so many changes are about to start happening as well when we're mid through the season.
Yeah, man.
What do you think?
What I think, man, I think I'm super excited for tonight's matches because it's a follow-up for yesterday games. And speaking of tonight's matches, we have some insane names that I've been waiting for to see if they have something to bring or they'll just settle with how it is. Like ROC Esports, man. It's been tough for them the last few days and they need to make up for it ASAP.
I feel like it's a back and forth, right? Like at some points, even in all competitive esports and sports itself, right? It's hard to maintain the rank 1. Like I feel like it's easier to go from rank 2, 3, 4 to rank 1 because the drive is there, but maintaining, which is something that unK unKnights have been doing pretty well so far, you know?
I feel you when you say it's hard to maintain the rank 1, but the thing is, it's either black or white, so it's either you're winning all or you're losing all. That's the situation between ROC Esports.
Makes
so they didn't
sense,
lose about it with Anubis, and they didn't lose with unKnights, and I'm not sure what else are they ready to give up before ending the split. We're mid-split, coming close to playoffs. Game by game and week by week, and we're seeing the standings. Number 1 is unK. It's clear. 9 matches, 7 wins. And coming to number 2, it's ROC Esports, and GG follows. And the big surprise for me is Anubis.
Yeah, I mean, Anubis, just like we mentioned yesterday, I feel like if you guys know the history of Anubis, they've been around for years, and at their prime, they were playing at the same level they are now.
Yes,
possibly this level, they're playing it even better. And you could tell early on, they were slightly struggling. Maybe it's because of the subs or something, but I feel like they made a very, very, very strong comeback. And this team has so much potential. Like with all the differences aside, the teams that I'm looking forward to is Anubis and GV. I think they have a lot of potential to reach top 4. As for the rest, they're doing great.
I think if Anubis do win their game, their next game, they make it to the top 3 positions, and coming from top 5 or top 6, moving to top 3 is a long story. Anyways, speaking of tonight's games, man, how can we not be excited? GV is playing again, and against who? It's a big challenge for both teams, ROC Esports against GV.
I mean, just looking at all of today's matches on day 12, right? GV ROC, on paper, ROC should win, but GV's performance has been pretty high. I'm pretty interested in TBI versus 999 because they are like, I don't want to say bottom 4, but they have similar play styles, right? They have difficulty finishing, even if they win round 1. So we're going to have to wait and see what perseveres there. Could you tell me a little bit about the last match?
Entropy
versus and GG. That's going to be spicy. Anyways.
It's going to be a great game, but we need to speak first of the first game, our main event in my opinion, which is GV and ROC Esports. 5th place against 2nd place, but it doesn't feel like a 5th place, does it?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, GV has some significant wins against some good teams.
True.
And I feel like they're hungry for this, right? They want ROC Esports. They need to win ROC Esports so they become formidable in the sense of the rest of the teams, right? And the same thing goes for ROC. ROC, I don't think they want a 3-loss streak, right?
No,
their first 2 losses happened very recently, and I'm pretty sure that they've discussed things and they figured their own stuff out with coaches and in-game leaders and whatnot, and they've done their analysis on GV. And here we're looking at the key players, man, like Snare, awesome, some of the best players in the region, possibly the world when it comes to the sniper, and they're very entertaining to watch, to say the least, right? Like, what do you think?
I mean, I think Snare has been getting overshadowed lately by Sad and by Spoxy from GG and from Anubis, and he needs to make up for it as soon as possible because coming from 100% win rate down to 75% win rate is not a story. It's fine for the rest of the teams, but it's not a story that ROC Esports do love, especially after winning winning all games that they been put in. So I think Snare has some other new plans, and I think things did change with the ROC Esports roster. I think the coach had a lot to say. And from a GV side, awesome. In my opinion, one of the best snipers that we've seen throughout the league, throughout the split. But they need, to win more games. It's a situation that TBI is put in. It's a situation that 999 is put in, but it's a bit different for GV because the comeback here is real.
Yeah, and keep in mind, we interviewed some of the players on both teams as they were in the MVP. I'm pretty sure it was NLS and Snare as well. And to say the least, for example, on GV's side, NLS did mention, like, we're here to stay. We're not just aiming for top 4. If the numbers are in their favor, they're aiming for top 1, which is currently contested by the likes of unKnights, Anubis, GG, and ROC, you know. And Snare and them, they said the same thing. Like, we're not just looking to win and dominate this league. They're looking to push through into more international tournaments and whatnot, and they do have a very solid roster. I mean, look at ROC Esports, X3BL. These are all players with years of experience, right? Let's not just speak about Snare. Like, look at Slayer, Horus, Totson. Like, they're all there. They're all ready to win, right? And I think today is also the last day of Ramadan, so that's gonna ease things up a bit. I'm pretty sure some of these players were fasting in the previous weeks because that could take an impact on you if you're not if you can't eat or drink liquids and fluids and water and stuff. But I think they're pretty ready. See all smiles around. Happy, I love it. Horace here cleaning his glasses a little bit, getting ready to stomp this match. We'll have to wait and see. I can't wait to see GV's camera. I love looking at awesome
NLS.
NLS is always smiling and having a good time. But
look at Horace. Look at Horace. He's smiling.
Yeah, I think they're ready, boys. The boys are ready. I can tell. I love the vibe. I love the vibe.
I love more the contrast between how they look at the contrast between their faces last game when they were losing and getting into the third map. They were just super focused. The smile just faded, vanished away, and now they are smiling. Anyways, moving down to GV, the boys that I respect and love. Awesome players, Loons, Creeds, and Snox. I mean, MLS finally has hurt and came back as a coach. Moving down to Snox and Creeds, the comeback of the legend phase.
You can tell Awesome snacking a little bit. Everyone's getting hydrated. Some neck cracking from Creeds. This is going to be an interesting game. Now Creeds is back, my boys. This is going to be one hell of a game, and I can't wait. Please send us to the match. What do you think? 3 games? I'd love to see 3 games.
I'd love to see
all jokes aside.
3 games, man. I'd love to see 3 games. But I think with the mentality given of ROC Esports, the guys lost 2 matches in a row. They aren't ready to lose the 3rd one. They are just going in focused, locked in, fresh new mentality. I think it's going to end 2-0 for ROC Esports, honestly.
I don't know. I feel like it depends on the first game, as I always say, right? Like, there's so much momentum. And speaking of momentum, this is where the map drafting is, and we're going to have to take a look at it. Makes perfect sense that Eagle Eye is banned by GV. Black Widow, Mexico, Ankara, banned on both sides. Yeah, tell me a little bit about their picks,
I mean, I 100% know that the pick from Team ROC Esports is their favorite pick, Compound. And if we're speaking about ROC Esports, you got mentioned Compound. They love the map. And Subbase from GV Esports, we did see them win, and their first win streak, by the way, their first game that started their win streak after a long losing streak started on Subbase. So they are ready to get the win on ROC Esports there. Compound is a favorite map for ROC, so if anything, if GV does win Subbase, Compound will be one from Team ROC Esports, which will get us to Port as a decider map. In my opinion, ROC Esports are better on Port as it's a default map. Yes, it works to both teams, but still, I do see ROC Esports.
I mean, I feel like first game since it's a pick by GV. This is interesting. If GV can stand out and possibly if they go 1-0 in the first round, then we're probably looking at a best of 3. I feel like if ROC, it just depends, right? Like who's having the better day, who got enough sleep, who's revised and done their homework, right? Like these are both professional top tier teams, and I'm excited. I'm excited to watch this unfold.
Exactly. I think one of these teams have a statement, an announcement to be said after the whole series finishes, because these teams with similar scenarios, continuous for GV, well, it's a continuous losing streak, then coming back to a winning streak, and they wanna, keep on this winning streak, such as like Anubis. But with ROC Esports, it's a winning streak, a game after game after game, then a sudden losing streak. So they wanna make a statement that it was just a small, tiny glitch in the metrics, and they just wanna come back stronger than ever with a new winning streak.
Yeah, and we'll have to wait and see whose statement is gonna be on top today, And I mean, without further ado, let's take it away. I think our casters, Mr. Kyle and Elfish Guy, are ready.
Let's go,
so
man.
Please enlighten us.
All right, thank you to the desk here. It is going to be our first match of the day. We've got a big one here, Elfish Guy. It's going to be ROC Esports, really looking to bounce back after some difficulty in their last couple of matches. I remember the first time I actually saw this head-to-head earlier in the season. It ended in a map 3 overtime, but for some reason I feel like it might not be as close this time around.
Yeah, look, I mean, this is an interesting one for me for sure, because look, when it comes to ROC, I think they've been a little bit shaky of late. They've obviously lost those last 2 games that they played. Anubis yesterday, 2-1, and I think even more, not embarrassingly necessarily, but more problematically perhaps, that 2-0 loss to unKnights the week prior is a little bit of a concern for me. So I'm kind of wondering, is there this like level of shakiness maybe for ROC at the moment that they haven't actually, I don't think, displayed over 18 months or so. Like, if we would go back in the history of CFWL for the last, since 3BL has kind of existed, they've more or less been number 1, number 2, and very rarely been in a position where they've really struggled against the middle or lower of the pack teams in this competition. But now that's starting to look like a bit of a problem for them. So questions abound on that side of the coin. On the other side of the coin, when it comes to GV, obviously, they're still kind of having a bit of an up and down season, which is a little bit more normal. We're kind of expecting that out of GV. They have been one of those, again, middle of the pack teams that has sometimes pressed for top 4, sometimes just missed out on top 4. On their day, they look fantastic. On their off day, they look awful. So I think they're a bit more of a wild card in this situation. If I had to give my prediction, I still would definitely be leaning the way of ROC. I think there's that more established brand or legacy, I guess, that they've built together as a team. But I can see that there's some susceptibility happening at the moment for ROC. And if GV shows up today, I definitely think there's a world where they could actually close this series out as well, at which point then we really would have to start asking questions about ROC. So we'll obviously hold that conversation until we actually get underway with the game. By all intents and purposes, I think this should be a 2-0 for ROC, personally. I don't know that that's necessarily what's going to happen. It really does depend on what these two teams look like coming into the server today. And I do hope that ROC is going to be a little bit more locked in than what we saw against Anubis and what we saw against unKnights.
Yeah, I feel like for me, this one, a lot of it comes down to how ROC Esports is actually going to play today. I feel like GV is going to have a pretty similar performance to what we saw in the first series between these two teams, but ROC Esports, I think we're expecting a bit more from in this one. I think the big benefit, at least for GV coming into today, is going to be, you've got Creed's back in the mix. He's been off for a couple weeks here, so I feel like him coming back in today could give them that extra bit of strength maybe they were missing in some of their previous matches, having Niels kind of as that substitute in the mix. And I know Creed's a very strong entry fragger for this lineup. I think adds a lot to what they might be able to do here today. But when I look at ROC Esports, if they're playing their A game, I just feel like this one's so difficult for GV. And a lot of that work has to really start for GV on map 1 here. I feel like looking at this series, it's their best map of the 3 to potentially win one against ROC Esports on. And for them, historically, it's also like one of their stronger maps overall for pulling off these somewhat upset style matchups in the overall season. So they're going to be starting on the GR side here as we jump into it for map number 1. And already it's a quick collision. Creed's a triple kill spray down, wasting no time here. Snare gets the answer back, but the damage has already been done.
Yeah, indeed. So Snare and Slayer instantly, with 30 seconds into the round, finding themselves as a duo, and awesome, able to line up Slayer there with the rifle, making for a relatively routine looking round here for GV. I mean, this is the perfect start, right? If you're GV, you know, you had a rough day yesterday, or was it yesterday or was it the day before? It was the day before. They had a rough day on day 1 of this week. But if you can come out the gates really strong, get a win here against ROC, which would, I think, no doubt be considered an upset, you know, you get yourself back in that conversation and you really start to throw some of that pressure onto ROC. Even if you can, you know, get off to a good start here, maybe take map 1, it becomes a very, very winnable series at that point, I feel, for GV. They just need to have themselves a nice day. Today is that day. Snox, nice clean kill onto Snare, and that's pretty much the perfect start to the day for GV. Love to see it.
Yeah, great way to get the ball rolling here, and now they've just got to try and hold on to that momentum as long as they can, because ROC, a team that knows how to swing back just as hard in these situations, so I am very curious to see what the response might be. Already, a lot of attention again towards this A side of the map. We can see Snake grabbing that control play here. Totson working his way up into the lobby. GV, though, some nice counter smokes to try and stall out the push. You can see Totson trying to find anything he can through the double doors, but right now, GV playing patient, which after an aggressive first round, I actually like this approach from them, putting that pressure right back onto ROC to make a move.
Well, not a whole lot of moves being made by ROC at the moment. They will take control room. Start to have a look into lockers potentially. It's awesome. With a bit of counter util will slow them down somewhat. We do have Creeds kind of lurking around on that line as well. There's a fairly hefty defense for lockers if ROC do ultimately decide that they want to contest for this. GV playing it passively for now, though. So that is going to allow ROC out into lockers. But that B site defense is where things might start to become a little bit more problematic. A very spread approach from ROC in this round. They've got one in mid, one pushing in through wood, three pushing in towards B. There's no doubt this is going to be a B hit. But the setup for GV is still not a bad one. First shots, though, go 1 for 1. Loons and Snare finding a kill apiece. Now Creed's trying even rather, to pivot back and forth, is unable to kind of get away from all of those guns trained in his direction. Got a start to this round for ROC, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be converted.
Yeah, at this point, it's going to come down to the rotations from FaZe and Loons, trying to find those entries to get back into the site. Totson holding on to the L-turn as long as he can here. And the bomb timer is ticking, only 20 seconds. FaZe has to make a quick move here, trying to find an opener. Loons stuck behind this wall of smoke, has to force the push through, but Snare, he's holding on to the corner pocket. Loons has to go 2 for 2 here on the retake, fakes the defuse, but the time, only 5 seconds on the clock. Totson able to hold on, and ROC Esports, they find the answer.
Well, that's a good response from ROC for sure. Bit of thinking to be done. What is happening here? Someone disconnected, maybe? ROC's taking a pause. So early for a pause, that's for sure. That's very, very early on in the piece. I feel like we saw them do this last season, though, Carl. I don't know if... Do you remember? There was a team definitely that called very, very early pauses. I think it might have actually been 3BL. But apparently this one's a tech pause, so could just be a ping issue. They're obviously all connected still.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I know in the past, when we're talking about more of like the tactical style pauses, I know 3BL did draw a lot of early ones just to be safe. And for them, a lot of these pause situations tend to be helpful. They're one of those teams that usually is able to win the round right after a pause. So we'll see if that remains true after this one. But definitely a good start from GV. I feel like even though it's a 1-for-1 score, I feel like GV's playing the stronger game right now in terms of how they're setting up strategically. ROC Esports, they just have these shots where you have to be careful in the close quarters situation. You can tell Loons and FaZe in that last round just didn't give themselves enough time to get it done. But overall, I feel like GV is definitely playing a pretty strong game so far. But ROC Esports, it's all about that firepower difference, I think. When you look at the clutch ability at a player like Totson or a Snare, that's what I think GV has to be ready for. They can't take for granted even these situations where they have the number advantage and it feels like it's going to go their way. That's when they have to play equally smart in those situations and not afford to give those up.
Hmm. Got another pause here by the looks of things. So something definitely going on. Might have a bit more of a slower start to the day than what we're used to at the moment. Don't know that that's necessarily going to be playing into one side's favor too much or not. Everyone looking pretty chill, pretty relaxed.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's Going to be just trying to get things sorted out. It's an early pause, I think, is never good for either team. It gets everybody a little bit anxious, I think, in that round coming back to, do we make a change? Do we need to make a change this early in the game? So I'm curious to see if the game plans maybe change for teams. Even though it's a tech pause, teams are always going to be talking about what they may or may not want to do coming out of it. And I always love that little aggressive play that some teams will throw coming out of it, just to see if the other team's on their toes. And GV's going to do just that. Smucks its way down into the lobby doors, able to find a quick kill onto Dotson. A great way to get it started. Follows it up with another one onto Slayer and ROC Esports. They were just not ready for that.
Oof. 4v3. Yeah, it does bring one back. It's a nice shot onto Creeds for sure, but GV, hang on, start to the round again. Don't half mind Awesome's position here. Quite forward, quite progressed. Needs to be careful, but prepared for Snare, who has been up to a few of these miscellaneous kind of solo pushes. And sometimes been costing ROC. Obviously, he's a good individual player and he can do a lot. He can make a lot of space, but if you're going to go for those individual pushes in a situation like that, you want to be making it work, and the fact that he hasn't now puts it back to a 2v4.
Yeah, now you can see Awesome here in the key position, able to find himself a second kill on the round. Snake all alone, not a whole lot he's going to be able to do here. Can't even land the shots as Snox pushes up onto him. That's just an unfortunate timing situation there, but GV, this is what we love to see from this team. In the beginning of the season, it felt like they were playing things too safe, but I love these early round aggressive plays where even on the defense, they're not afraid to get proactive.
Yep. Waiting for Snox. So a bit of an ambitious peak there for GV. They have been liking these kind of more aggressive fights as we've seen throughout this GR side so far. This time not working out for them. You kind of live by the sword, die by the sword when you're going to be playing that kind of a strategy or setup.
Yeah, at this point, the rotation's a little bit slow here from ROC Esports, kind of going back to that old 3BL mentality of run down the clock, burst at the last minute. I know it's a strategy that, at least under the days of Penguin, was very, very common with a lot of the players on this team, but I almost wish they would pick up the pace because they are a strong, aggressive team when they want to be, and I don't think GV usually fares that well against the aggression they throw at them, but this time around, GV making the first move. Slayer is ready for it once again, able to find himself a second kill on the round and back off without the trade. Awesome wants to take the fight, though. Finally able to secure that trade. But FaZe, he is stuck here in a difficult position. Goes down on the top of A, forces the 2v4 as the bomb goes down.
Yeah, you get the sense that this is going to be a very back and forth series once again. Plant will be down there for ROC, and obviously they're going to wait for GV to try to push their way in. There's not a whole lot that GV can really do here. Awesome. He's done a pretty good job to grab one, spamming through that smoke. But ultimately, he's going to fall, and it's a pretty easy round in the end for ROC. So, I don't know. You don't really get the sense that ROC are firing on all cylinders at the moment, but they're doing enough to keep this competitive.
Yeah, I feel like right now it's almost ROC Esports waiting to show us their full hand in this situation, but GV, they make it so hard to do that. Again, another aggressive forward setup. This time it's 3 players pushing up into the lobby, trying to catch them off guard. Actually, the lurk of Slayer in the vent finds not 1 but 2 kills on the drop down, secures the upper A bomb site, forces a very early 4-on-2. Awesome, trying to push out on the rotation for maybe a nice little flank here, but there's really not a whole lot of information to work with, and Creeds knows he's going to have to take some sort of a risk here and challenge this player on the upper A bomb site. But does he check the corner quickly enough? Not in time to grab Slayer. Now Awesome again in a 1-on-4.
Yeah, just kind of jiggle peeking around that corner right into the crosshair of Slayer. Not going to work out for him at all. And as you say, Awesome with way too much to do. You know, it's the exact same situation, basically. Trying to push through the smoke into a crossfire, and what are you really going to be able to expect from a situation like that? So, ROC starting to gain a bit of momentum here, starting to look a little bit better. Obviously, the start was a bit awkward. GV picking up that early round. But ROC easing their way into this series now and starting to look more and more confident. That, however, maybe a little bit of a rude awakening for Slayer.
Yeah, that's definitely the key early round matchup. We've been seeing Slayer and Snox, kind of the two players on both sides to open things up. Without Slayer, it is going to be a bit more of a challenge for ROC Esports. They don't have anybody kind of firing the way they're used to on this side for the entries, so I'm hoping maybe Snare or Horus can find a way to open up this round a bit more for them. Right now, they could certainly use a pick to settle the score, but Awesome, he's also been so aggressive on the GV side, finding these early plays over towards the control room. He's going to find himself another Creeds, takes down Fake, over towards Lobby and FaZe and Moons. They're just going to collapse in to get this one done, and we're right back at the tie once again.
Yeah, very evenly matched game at the moment, isn't it? Doesn't feel like either of these teams is necessarily better than the other. A lot coming down to these big individual plays, though. Slayer, 6-3 at the moment. And Awesome, the same. Those two guys have really been performing. It's kind of why you see these sort of aggressive moves being made, I guess, by Slayer. He's trying to have an influence on the round early on in the piece, knowing that he's the one that's doing the damage for his team right now. I think that previous round kind of blew up in his face as he just got dropped, so just slow things down a little bit in this round, ROC, and work together a little bit more.
Yeah, right now for GV, they're hoping to maybe catch one of these players off guard, lurking in mid, and you can see Horus trying to find that opening pick from the L-turn, forced out of position. He goes ahead and backs off. Now it's going to be a three-player push over towards the B-bomb site. FaZe able to find the first onto Slayer, trying to cross alone, but Snare able to answer right back, take down FaZe with a quick trade, and now they've got to force some rotations here on the GV side of things, just playing it a little bit patient for the moment, but with the timer about to hit 1 minute, it is going to be a full rotation. ROC Esports starting to group back up towards A.
Boons looking for info, is going to give up his life. That is a big position, actually, picked up by Snake. It can cut off the rotations. That's exactly what he's going to try and do right here. Awesome on his way through down the stairs. He actually spots Snake out. Hang on. That's a little bit of a mishap. Back to 3-on-2 here, and Snare being low, Totson tagged up. Somewhat of a winnable round for GV that ROC need to be very careful they don't let slip. 57 seconds. Awesome and Creeds have to work their way forward down the stairs. Horus and Totson combined for the round victory for ROC, so no harm done in the end.
Yeah, just a really solid post plant from them. ROC Esports starting to hit their stride, it feels like. I feel like Totson's the decisive player for me on this team. When he's playing at his maximum level, ROC Esports, they just hit a whole new level of performance as a team because he's so good in the post plants and the clutch. But FaZe, yeah, and Awesome. The shotgun plays, I love seeing it on sub base, especially in that vent position. But Awesome as well, just so assertive on this map. 9-3, continuing to cause a lot of trouble.
This is wild. It's just a wild game. Like, it's like everyone's just taking turns being absolutely insanely sharp. And apparently this round, it is TV's turn. I mean, look at these shots.
Absolute insanity there, but honestly, over the years, I know we've seen it a lot from FaZe. He's always that player that you can never underestimate what he can do. Crazy play in the moment. He's not afraid to just go for it full force, and you can see it in this round as well. He just wanted to rush the control room with a shotgun. He's not fearing this team at all. ROC Esports, no threat to him. This time, Snox has to deal with the trouble of Horus going for the leading push here on this bomb site. Creed's going to be one and done. The lower bomb site as well. It's going to be a 3-on-4 as the C4 goes down. FaZe is going to have to find some way to get value out of the shotgun on the retake.
It's going to be easier said than done, that's for sure, but maybe Awesome can get it done himself. He's a bit of a fragger. Totson comes in behind Awesome in the end and then shuts down FaZe as well. ROC will secure the lead at halftime. It's been a bit of a back and forth map, hasn't it? But I don't know where you're sitting, Kyle. I'm kind of still feeling okay if I'm ROC here.
Yeah, I think ROC Esports is in the slightly favorable position here, especially with them going on to the GR side, because the players who haven't had the best first half, I actually think will perform even stronger in the second half for ROC Esports. Particularly when I think about how Horus likes to play on this map. He's a very strong GR-sided player. He always is able to lock down that B bomb site, really good at soloing a site if he needs to on this map as well. So I feel like they definitely have their work cut out for them on the GV side, because now these burst aggressive plays, they're not as easy to make happen for yourselves when you talk about the attacking side of this map. There's a lot more GR favorability when you want to be aggressive, and that's where I need to see GV maybe play a little bit more structured, I think, in this second half if they want to win it, because that loose play style gets shut down pretty frequently if you're on the BL side here.
Yeah, we know ROC is not the kind of team that's going to necessarily shy away from anything too proactive either on the GR side. So once they move over into this second half, I'm sure we'll be seeing some business happening from them as well.
Yeah, I am curious to see what the first round call is from ROC Esports. GV pretty much spent the whole first half being aggressive at the start of the round, grabbing those early control room plays, pushing down the lobby for control, and I feel like ROC Esports, they might not be quite as aggressive on their GR side, but I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing for them. I don't think they want to force as many early fights as a GV might need to win in these situations, especially when you've got the good anchors of Snare and Horus on this side of the map to kind of lean on to grab those more passive entry angles. So I'm hoping that's kind of their approach here, but we'll see what GV has in store. Maybe some more shotguns in the second half, who knows?
Maybe. Don't know if I'm super keen on that, but yeah, I guess you got to sort of take whatever angle you think is the right one in the circumstances. I've always been, I don't know about you, Carl, but I've always been like kind of like that super vanilla guy when it comes to setups and strats and weapons and this and that. Like I'm not the guy that goes for the, I don't go for the ORM. I don't go for any of that crazy stuff. I want the flexibility and the predictability of a rifle, not the one-shot kill potential of the ORM. Just feels like it's a bit too much of a high-risk, high-reward type weapon. Same kind of thing with the shotguns. I've never really been a shotgun user. It's just, give me a rifle. You can get the job done. Might not be the best thing for every single situation, but it's probably the second best thing for every situation. And I'll take that. I'll take that consistency.
Yeah, for me, I've always kind of abided by, there's an unspoken rule in CrossFire that there's two maps that the shotgun is acceptable on. It's Subbase and it's Mexico. If I see it outside of that, that's where I get a little bit more anxious for what they're going to try and do there, because to me, outside of those two maps, it's a much higher risk. You're dealing with a lot longer range fights, but I can see FaZe particularly, like, he likes to play those close range, like pushing through the vents with the shotgun type of plays. Maybe he runs it on Mexico, pushing through the alleyway. For me, I think it's okay in those situations, but you see someone peeking down mid on Black Widow with a shotgun, that's when I start to ask questions. And FaZe, he's done that too on occasion. He goes a little bit more bold with those strategies. But yeah, outside of those two maps, I don't like to see the shotgun. I like to play it a little bit safer on those. But FaZe, he's no stranger to taking those risks, but I think that's part of what makes him such a spectacular player to watch, because he's going for the high risk, high reward strats a lot.
Well, looks like maybe even Snare's a bit confused about what's going on. It's a very long break here at the halftime. I think Horus maybe playing around with something as well on his PC for a second there.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what the tech issues might be, but hopefully it's something they can quickly resolve and hop back in. Actually, think back to the first match we had between these two teams in the season. I think it was the most tech pauses I've seen in the season so far. We had the third map of Port. I think there was a tech pause every single round on that map, and it was a map that ended 13-11, and I know by the end of that, ROC Esports was very much burnt out, and overall that was a tough one for both teams, I think, to get through. So hopefully not a bit of the same here today. Maybe some connection issues between the two teams, just getting the server stability they're looking for. But hopefully they can get that resolved quickly, and we can be on our way, because it's never an easy thing, I think, for either team to feel like they have that control and that momentum in a match when you've got, a lot of tech pauses kind of stalling the path.
Yep. What's happened to Snox? His camera's fallen off.
He's disappeared, at least for now.
Yeah, well, I don't really know what to say at this point. I guess we're all just kind of waiting for this game to get back into gear. A lot of medals and what do we call them? Accreditation there for FaZe.
Yeah,
I recognize a few of them myself.
I'm sure he's been around for. He's got to be the longest or one of the longest standing players, I think, left in the West League. I think his first event I remember was CFS 2014, if I remember correctly, was his first major appearance. So he's been around as long as anyone here. I think Flex is maybe one of the other long-standing players, but he took a break where he was kind of out of the scene for 3 or 4 years in the middle. But FaZe, he's been around for a long, long time. It's actually something that even I was talking with Laz about the last time I was on the desk with him, that this roster for me actually reminds me of like kind of the golden age of the EU teams, because they're one player away from being that Penta Sports roster that I remember we got to cast take down SV 10-3 at IEM back in the day. And I'm kind of hoping we see that lineup return. The only difference here being Loons instead of Niels on that lineup, and Niels, of course, still in this lineup as a substitute player. So the dream could be a reality again, because I remember seeing that lineup together. They were, for a couple of years, one of the best in this entire region, and they were stacking multiple top 4 finishes back in that day.
Yeah, but it's a different time now, really, isn't it, Kyle? Like, I know it's the same for any sport, any esport, anything. You sort of, obviously, you and I have been around for a long time when it comes to CrossFire, so I think we have these kind of like rose-tinted glasses when we look at all these players that have been around the same amount of time and think, oh, those are the guys that we were like watching back then, and we want to see them do well. And, you're used to kind of seeing them do well from those results previously, but things are maybe not the same anymore.
Yeah, definitely.
Is GV living up to that level at this point? I don't think so, unfortunately. Like, they're no longer is Germany or Europe or like, that kind of area, the number one region in the CFWL. Obviously that's Egypt at this point in time.
Yeah, you'd have to believe it, especially after not only ROC Esports having a good start to the season. I was actually really impressed to see what Anubis has done this weekend. Them winning the matches they have is honestly a big surprise with a bit of a younger lineup on their end. So I definitely wouldn't disagree that Egypt's kind of the go-to region right now, especially when you have, 3 or 4 years in a row where GV is kind of that team that keeps missing out on a lot of those international opportunities after, for so many years, they were the team to beat to get there for a lot of those opportunities. So it's been interesting to see kind of the changing of the guard with the region swap here, with kind of Egypt taking over those top positions in the scene. But you also have some of these younger teams on the EU side that are showing a lot more than I think GV has. And that's where I've been really excited with teams like Gaimin Gladiators, for example, and unKnights, where I didn't know a lot of these players, even 3 or 4 years ago, but a lot of them, you look at a player like Spoxy, who his first time on the scene was only like 2.5 years ago. He's really made a name for himself in such a short time.
Yeah, I mean, it's always good to see new talent coming through. No doubt about that. You need a nice talent pipeline for the health of an ecosystem like this one, because inevitably the older players are going to move on. And the newer players need to kind of fill those shoes, which we are starting to see new generations of CFWL players as we go through the years. But things are unfortunately not looking too fantastic in the server at the moment. So I'm going to take a short break and be back when the game is ready to go.
looks like we are right back into the action. Half number 2 here. ROC Esports going to be defending now on the GR side. GV attacking on the BL side. We'll see if that maybe changes the pace of the game for either one of these teams. We saw GV being very aggressive in the first half, and it looks like they're going to keep with that momentum into the second half. You can see already a fight here on the double doors outside of the lobby. Snox goes down right away. Creeds doesn't even really want to go for the trade here. He's just going to back off, fully reset as they rotate towards this B bomb side. So GV, the aggression not working out to kick off the second half.
Yeah, look, I don't think we're going to be seeing anything too aggressive, to be honest, over the course of this half from GV. When we were watching them earlier on this week, they were one of the teams that did like to play a little bit slower, and that has tended to be the case, generally speaking, for this core of players for quite a while. Horus, I need to get that gun in hand, and I don't know that he necessarily had it. I think he was holding a flash when he went down there. Luckily, at least, Snake has been able to pick one up, and Slayer's also in there for some damage. So the entry hasn't necessarily gone the way of GV Esports. FaZe fighting hard by the silo will eventually fall, leaving just Loons, and Totson will spot him out. So there's information and now the kill as well for ROC. 6-4. Whatever issues they were having don't seem to be much of a concern right now.
Yeah, really solid rotation there from ROC Esports, especially from Snake and Totson. A lot of utility being used to make it happen, but this time around, ROC Esports goes for the full mid-control play. They've got 3 players already pushed up into the B control room, a couple on the backside of mid, and this is where GV has to make the right play call here. Do they go for the full contest on this position, which is a very difficult one to retake, or do they just comfortably swing back towards that A bomb side? And they're kind of just running down the clock at this point, waiting to see if ROC Esports pushes it to the limit here and goes for an even more aggressive approach. But it's not necessarily a bad call here from GV, trying to get somebody to go for that early peak. But ROC Esports knows they've got the positional advantage. They don't have to make any more moves here.
Yes, well, 5-6 is the scoreline. Slayer. And looking to try and get aggressive. Nice triple. Oh my god, Slayer. That's come out of absolutely nowhere. That should not have even been 2. But he gets all 4. Sharp aim. Everyone was looking at Snake, apparently, and then they forgot about Slayer.
Yeah, that's a player you can never forget about here. Slayer just doing a lot of work in that one. And now ROC Esports in the second half, they're looking like the team that might be able to slowly but surely run away with this one. And it does put that extra bit of pressure onto GV now to see what they can do on this side of the map. So if they can get the ball rolling, maybe there is a chance to get things going their way. But right now, you can see a very, very safe approach here in round number 13. Not a whole lot of map control just yet. You do have Awesome sneaking into the vent potentially here on that off angle, but ROC Esports, this is what they do best. A lot of utility pressure, and they just make it so challenging to break through, but GV doesn't really seem to care here about that utility. Slowly still working their way up into this lobby position, but Creed, Snock, look at their HP here. So much damage already being dealt. It's not going to stop them just yet. Creed's able to find a 2K to open up the bomb side snare on the rotation. Good for a first. Not for a second, though. It's still a very even situation. But just as I say that, Loons goes swinging for the fences to get it done.
Well, GV hanging in there, that's for sure. A little bit of a faster play from them this time around as well. There's a nice kill from Creeds to start things off, but Snox is also trying to lurk his way out onto A, so multiple pain points for ROC Esports. However, Creeds has got a bit too big for his boots, and he'll be taken down. Horus dealing with Snox over on the A bomb side. It's now toward B, where ROC have to turn their attention, but it seems they are pretty well aware of that. Oh my goodness, from FaZe! What? He's just pulled another one out of his hat. That's crazy work.
Yeah, that 1v3, I'm going to need to see that one again. That was an insane round from FaZe that could ultimately have saved them on this map as well, especially that third little flick shot there. What a way to get this one back to a tied game, but for some reason, I'm still not surprised that is where we are in this matchup, because it always seems to be a very close finish between these two teams. The last time they met in the regular season, we had a 10-8, and 2 overtime finishes in that best of 3. So wouldn't surprise me to see a similar fate here for both of these teams. But this time around, you can see GV trying to make a bit of a bigger statement as this map continues forward. But for ROC Esports, this is an important one to hold on to. Knowing Compound's map number 2 in this series, that's one of their best maps in this 3 pool. So I'm hopeful that if they can get this one, it would be a 2-0 for them. But if they go down here, that's where things get risky. A map 3 port situation for both of these teams, that's really a coin toss of a map.
Yeah, no, definitely agree with you. ROC has always been kind of known for their compound, so GV have to have that in the back of their heads and be pretty prepared for the possibility that map 2 is going to be a tough one. Snake in a perfect spot to do some real damage here. He actually ends up getting the 1 kill, but sets it up nicely for Snox. Slayer here as well. Oh, having a fantastic map, Slayer. ROC Esports will hold that round nice and clean.
Yeah, at this point for GV, it's not going to be enough to go round for round here, ROC Esports. They're in the little bit of a more comfortable position to try and keep this one moving their way, and they're only 2 rounds away from making it happen. So GV, even though they were able to string a couple together, ROC Esports, they've still looked a little bit stronger on this side of the map, and just that little bit of difference might be enough for them at this point. But Slayer in particular, though, 11 kills on this map. He's been the player to really look out for. He's constantly causing so much trouble for GV that they have to be ready for his position. Meanwhile, though, Horus, he's been a little bit quiet in this game, but this time around, he is going to be put to the test. The solo anchor on the A bomb site has 4 players about ready to push through in his direction, and in this position, it's so hard to stay alive. You have to just frag out and hope for the best here. The counter flash is going to come down. Horus goes for the wide swing. They all eat the flash, but unfortunately, it's only going to be a one-and-done situation. The lurks get taken down immediately, but Snare as well from the top holds the line. Loon's now left alone 1 versus 4.
I don't think that's going to go well for him. Tries to escape back up into wood and is greeted by some waiting arms. Looks like ROC just going to accelerate in the last couple of rounds there, and all of a sudden it goes from being a pretty close-looking map to maybe a reasonably comfortable win for ROC if they can just finish it off here. Scoreline 9-7.
Yeah, a lot of pressure on these last couple of rounds. GV needing to find anything they can at this point to turn the tide, but it doesn't seem to be going too well for them on the BL side. FaZe trying to sneak his way over towards the double doors. Snare ready to take this fight on the opposite side of it, and GV again, even though it hasn't been working too well for them, seem to have their eyes set on a control play towards this A side of the map. You can see the smoke screen coming down for it, but the player shift is actually now happening towards that mid elbow, and it's going to be an interesting one to see if they push all the way through. It's 4 players grouped up on it, 2 going into the vents, and this is where I start to get a little bit worried. We've seen GV do a 3-player vent push, but I am not a fan of that strategy at all.
Ooh, FaZe. His timing needs to be perfect here, and it's just maybe a little bit too early. The rest of GV trying to work their way forward, but ROC handling it nicely. 2 players left. Awesome. Has a bit of a sticky situation ahead. He's got to try and retrieve that C4. He has to cross onto the side. That was spotted by Horus, but now the information is coming through, and this is an unwinnable duel for Awesome. And an unwinnable map, apparently, as well for GV, as ROC give themselves a little bit of a cheer. It's got to be a good feeling to come into this series after having that loss earlier on in the week with a win and say, okay, look, guys, the week hasn't been perfect. It hasn't been fantastic, but we are salvaging it if we win this series, and we're on our way to doing that right now.
Yeah, really good way to close out map number 1. Map number 2 on the way is going to be their pick as well, so a really good start to the series to potentially look towards that 2-0, and this is really a team that needed a bit of a redemption match here today after a bit of a rough go of it. I think they haven't won a match in 4 or 5 days overall, coming off a bit of a tough loss record after being the unstoppable team to start the season. Now they're finally having to kind of reinvigorate themselves and show what they can do, and I think this is a really good match for them to do that in.
Yeah, look, well, enough from us, Kyle. Look, we don't really know what we're talking about anyway, so we want to hear from the analysts, and we'll chuck it back over to them and be back for map 2.
No, man, I'm pretty sure. Like, you guys are more experienced than we are, at least in Crossfire. I have to highlight what the casters did mention, and Kyle did mention that every time GV and ROC or 3BL at the time, they would run into each other, the matches would extend and sometimes reach overtime, and that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it's a back and forth game. Since the start of the game, since ROC Esports were playing on the attack side and they were playing on the defense side, GV were playing on the defense, it's a back and forth game. But once ROC Esports started playing on the defense side, everything did change. They leave Horus on one side, A side. You're anchoring here. You're just solo anchoring here because we know that you can hold with them. Okay, not necessarily kill 3 or even two of them, but he will surely do an impact and slow things down. And that happened with 5 or 4 rounds. He uses the flash and they start to rotate more and more.
Yeah, exactly. He creates the space. So while he's anchoring the site solo, he makes sure that the second he gets any kind of information that there is GV rotating to his side, he would immediately, you would find snares up near the vents just opping away, you know. It's great.
Exactly.
It's great.
And the one thing I love about ROC Esports is that they are so fast with their rotation. So even though they leave Horus on A site alone, once they know that there is sound audio there, okay, let's all rotate, and they are so fast with it. GB does not even have time to plant the C4. No, they found Slayer in front of them. They found Snake, Totson, Horus. The rest of the boys are just coming back to help their teammate on A side. And something else that I like about GB is whenever Slayer gets a 4 kill, there is a response from FaZe. It's like a head-to-head between both teams, and the names itself, FaZe to Slayer, Loons to Horus, Slayer to Snox. And
I mean, FaZe at some point near the ending rounds, he got a very, very good almost triple kill, basically, where I think it was 1v3 or 2v3, and then his teammate died and he 1v3'd them.
Yes.
I just wanted to highlight that this is GV's pick, by the way, and I feel like both teams played the attack side a bit less aggressive than what we're used to, which is also something I think Elfish Guy highlighted. He said the ROC that we know on attack, they don't even wait for the last minute. Maybe 3BL's old tactic was they wait for the last 30-40 seconds and then just, you know, push in and secure the site pretty quickly.
Exactly, and that was weird to me to see that normally ROC Esports do play more aggressive. They still push the side A or B and leaving someone on the other side just lurking, trying, you know, to backstab some of GV's player. But no, that did not happen. They played passively. Maybe it's a result of hesitant because of their losing streak. They want to make sure that the rounds are just secured from this side. Maybe I'm just stepping on their playing style, I'm not sure, but one thing that I'm sure of is that was their pick and they did win it, and it's now we're going into Compound, which was ROC Esports'
pick. I mean, first game, I feel like the lurks initially were very rewarding, and as well, a high risk, high reward. If you think about it, there was a couple of shotgun plays, you know, and that's unique to say the least. And I don't think it's played on all maps. There's like 1 or 2, like the casters said, it's like applicable in those maps, but if you do it on specific maps that don't really give you the luxury to be at close range, like it can be punishing on retake or taking the site.
Yeah, to use shotgun you need maps with corners, angles, like the map we just saw. You have to like find a map that has vents, sewers, doors, that you can, you know, get yourself some kills with the shotgun. Anyways, we're moving to Compound. And
I'm excited, yeah.
A favorite map for ROC. They hardly lose any rounds or any games overall on Compound.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna stay with my prediction. I'll say the prediction that
2-0.
Yeah, it's looking for a 2-0.
I mean, it wasn't like the gap wasn't there. It was 7-10, you know. It was 7-10. Like there's still a lot of potential, hopefully. And I really think, I mean, you can tell that ROC seems pretty relaxed. Horace is just standing up, you know, like I'm not sure what he's doing, but I like it. You know, he's just staring at his screen like I need this win. You know what I mean? And I think they all need this win, right? And I feel like on the side of GV, awesome Awesome, like initially had like 9-3 KDA or something. As you can see, he was doing great.
Awesome is always performing, man. Whether they lose, they win. Awesome is always performing, and that's what I respect about this guy. He's just always there, hustling, trying to get himself some kills. Even though they lose, his impact is still there. I noticed the facial expression of Snare. He was super happy with the win. I don't think he's super happy because of this specific win, because he knows that Compound is next and they know that they will win Compound. It's an easy win for them, so it makes the score 2-0 from my opinion.
Yeah, and I feel like GV, initially they managed to smoke out Snare and control the ARM as well and make sure that there's no free early kills to put their team at a disadvantage. And I really have to show respect to their coach that they managed to integrate that as well, that they found who the key players are and they managed to shut them down. But nonetheless, there's 5 key players on both sides. Anyways, we'll take it back to our casters to see game 2.
Let's go.
All right. It is going to be map number 2 of this one, Compound. Normally, I would say ROC Esports, this is theirs all day long, but I do think back to the previous series where I believe they actually lost this map to GV in an overtime situation, so maybe we do see something a little bit closer in this second map, but ROC Esports in map 1, definitely a commanding performance, especially in that second half to carry into this one.
Well, I just had a quick look actually myself here, Kyle, and they actually played sub-base Port and Ankara. You were correct, lost in overtime, but it was on Port, not on Compound. They actually got Compound banned away by GV. So a little bit of a change up in the veto this time around, and I do kind of have to agree with you that this to me would lean towards a 2-0. I think Compound has always been a map that I've associated with this 3BL lineup in a little bit more of a capacity than something like a Port. So I actually think that this map pool, the way that this is played out, in my opinion, is favorable for ROC. We'll see, though, whether or not that's going to end up being the case, but I would be leaning towards a 2-0 here, personally.
Yeah, it is going to be a tough one. A lot of it comes down to how they're going to deal with the sniper setups here. And speaking of sniper setups, we actually have 3 from GV on the field in round number 1. A bit of a bold decision here. So far, it is going to be Creed's opening it up for one, but look at Snox here. The early flank, nobody ready for that on the side of ROC Esports, and now they've got a full control play on this A-bomb site, but Totson already getting the shutdown kills, the C4 planted, and now when you've got 2 OMs on the retake, this is not easy. You're kind of one and done. If you miss the shot, it's pretty much over, and I'm not a huge fan of this post-plant setup now.
That said, there's a lot of util available to GV still, so that may be of some benefit to them. Awesome. Gonna have to hard clear this right angle, but the barrel will probably give him away, if not the perfectly timed swing from Totson in the end. 13 seconds left here. Rocco not even really had to work too hard in this post plant. I don't think GV even really gave themselves much of a chance in that one because they were waiting, they were patient, and they hoped that ROC was going to make a mistake and give them a kill, which is kind of what you have to do with the sniper setup, but ROC were too disciplined and didn't give them anything, and so ultimately it becomes a pretty easy conversion for the Egyptian squad.
Yeah, that right there is definitely the reason you can't run 3 OMs on this map. The retake is just so difficult with an OM in your hands. You can see them dropping one of the 3 into this second round. It's going to be FaZe and Awesome still holding on to them and playing a little bit more of a passive approach towards this B side of the map. Meanwhile, though, you do have Loons and FaZe pushed up aggressively over on the A-long room. Could be a chance to catch Slayer off guard, who's kind of just poking around in that direction. But the rest of ROC Esports seems pretty eager to go for this B-bomb site take, but I don't blame them here. This is definitely the fight you want to take early on this map. If you can win the fight for B, it's so difficult to retake that GV is going to have a very tough time winning the round back. And you can already see Snox feeling the pressure over here towards the bomb site. Awesome as well. He needed to find a trade there. Couldn't find anything out of it. And one by one, they're all falling across the board, leaving FaZe alone for the 1v5.
Yep, that was a little bit too easy for ROC, I have to say, right? The setup that GV have got, you're expecting bare minimum at least a single kill, right? Look, if the first player goes down, the second player should be swinging and getting at least a trade, but not even that happening. That's pretty much your round over, straight up. You lose the B-bomb site. As you already highlighted, Kyle, it's one of the most difficult sites in the entire game to retake, and you know, you're down on numbers at that point as well. It's a real problem. So aggression out into mid this time, the name of the game for GV, and that's worked out okay. Awesome. With a 3K. get to catch any of it, but this will be a tough one to salvage for ROC Esports.
Yeah, at this point, it's pretty much done round, and the Slayer there goes down as well. I think it was just a bit of a timing error. They didn't really catch that sneak attack onto the mid crate, and after that, it was easy pickings for GV to win that one, and it's an important round. It's a GR-sided map. Going down early on this side of the map, never easy to recover. So GV, this is a must-win half if they want to find their way back into the series, because if you don't win it on the GR, it's very, very tough. I think you're going to win it all the way through. And Snare able to catch one early, but he's kind of stuck here over in the pillars now. The trade comes through. Awesome, able to find that one, and now the pressure is on to try and answer back. ROC Esports going full force onto the A bomb site. Loons is stuck, completely isolated in that back corner, and as we saw in the first round of this half, this A bomb site, the way ROC Esports locks it down, very difficult to reply against. Dotson and Slayer, good for one apiece, but FaZe quickly making a move on the backside of side, is able to find the early kill, but the rotation is going to be met with a lot of punch here from Dotson, who's able to find the first, but he's only got 1 HP. Creeds, the 1v2, gets it done.
I was going to say that was a really nicely played round out from ROC. They actually don't end up winning it, but pretty good call. Immediately you can see the confidence that they have on this map. Yes, they lose Snare over here towards pillars, but he's able to calm that. Okay, I've killed one here. There's at least another 2. So worst case scenario, you've probably got, you know, maybe only a couple of players to deal with on A. So it was a nice acceleration, a good mid-round call from ROC. But they don't quite execute on it in the clutch. It doesn't go their way. It's still a correct decision being made. This time again, more aggression from GV. Pillars starting to become a bit of a problem point for ROC, and Forrest going to come swinging across to try to salvage that somewhat. He's not going to be able to win his duel. Dotson will not do the same as well. This round just falls by the wayside.
Yeah, ROC right now have to find a way to clean it up in those B pillars fights. Right now, Snox and Awesome doing a lot of work in that direction, and now for this one, Snake, he's all alone here. Not really any clean way out of this situation. Probably going to have to force a fight onto this player on the flank, but Loons, he's got the right angle here. FaZe now alongside him. 5v1, nothing he can really do there. One and done situation at best, and there it'll be GV getting themselves a nice chance to now push into a lead for themselves, and this is exactly what they needed on the GR side of this map. Those control plays really getting them right back into the conversation, but for ROC Esports, this is where they know they need a statement in this B pillars fight. They've lost it 3 rounds now, and they're going to go swinging here for that 4th encounter. It's going to be FaZe still able to find one and get out of there with his life. You can see the fall off from Awesome, only going to net him 1 kill as well. But now it's all about the B bomb side. Creed's not able to hang on, and that could be everything in this round. But look at the HP on the post plant. Snake and Pot are made very low.
Couple of nades getting tossed on in by GV, none of them connecting. Horus, though, is, and that is round done and dusted. ROC bounce back pretty quickly. I mean, they're one of those kinds of teams that when things are going their way, they will just steamroll over you. That one very certainly blew up in the face of GV, who aren't dissuaded from an early fight once again. Awesome this time in toward middle. Helped out by FaZe. It'll be 1-for-1 so far, but FaZe is desperate to survive, and out in no man's land. It makes for an easy trade from Tots, and it's going to be 3v3 once the dust does settle, and that should favor ROC.
Yeah, for now, ROC just kind of hanging out here in mid, trying to see where they can find an opening. You've got GV2 on the B bomb site, just the solo player of Loons on A, so an A take could be the play here to make for ROC Esports, but at the same time, they've got to be a little bit cautious. You can see Snare trying to find them that nice pick, but the rotation from GV might get caught off guard. Creeds goes down, the B bomb site completely open for the taking now. Loons and Snox quickly rotating. They know they have to try and stall the plant. There's no time to get on this bomb site, and the utility is already blocking this door, and that is why the bomb site is so hard to retake. All it takes is a couple of smokes to run down the clock, and now Loons, there's just no safe way to take the fight.
No way to take the fight at all, really. Smiles all round for ROC Esports. Couple of giggles in there as well for whatever reason. Up 4-3 though, feeling pretty good about this BL side. Still a little bit more work to do. Once again, it seems as though GV want to be proactive. They have slowed down. Does Horus go through the smoke here? It looks like they will. It's a double setup on A long, but unfortunately, Loons had backed off, and so now it's kind of FaZe up the creek without a paddle. Snare catches Snox in the meanwhile. FaZe is just unable to survive. It's a barrage of nades that goes in onto his position. Loons tagged down. Horus will be keen for that entry. If not him, there will be a trade. That's perfectly played from ROC in the end, and they get a really nice timing in onto that A-bomb site.
Nice little shot there from Awesome, catching Totson a bit off guard on the jump peak, and now this is where things get tough. Smokes blocking those entrances. Awesome has to force his way in, but there is no way to take that fight comfortably, and there you have it, ROC Esports, the momentum really piling up on their side of the field here. 5-3 now, 3 in a row for them. As we go into the final round of this half, it's going to be up to GV to try something new, and that's exactly what's going to happen here. 4 players pushing through the middle of the map for GV to ROC. They're ready for it this time around. 2 kills already going their direction. Awesome and Loons, they need to hold the line as long as possible here, but Snare again, these cheeky little off angles give them so much advantage, and FaZe, there's nothing he can do here. It's a 6-3 half.
Yeah, it's a pretty rough half in the end for GV. We were at one point kind of discussing the possibility of this again being a bit of a closer half, but ROC just slowly taking over and strangling them of rounds. Now we will swap over at that half time, and it's not started well for GV. ROC really starting to think about closing this series out in a 2-0 capacity.
Ooh, nice shot there from Totson. Not someone you see on the sniper every day, but when he pulls it out, there's always some good intentions behind it. Now it's a 4-on-3 situation as Horus gets taken down on the other side of the map here. You can see Totson, though. Look at this forward position here. He's got the arm in hand, and he is already pushed up all the way B long and could potentially go for a nice little flank. The only downside to this setup is that the B bomb site is very exposed for ROC Esports, but GV unfortunately take bait with Creeds. He's somehow ready for it, finds all 3 players untraded on the A bomb site, and now it is all up to Totson on the 1v2.
Yeah, I don't know that he expected to be in this position, but certainly the kind of player that could get it done. Not quite this time around. Awesome on the off angle. And so GV swindled themselves around. This was not the way that ROC anticipated it going. It certainly shouldn't have gone this way. Bit of an awkward timing, really, and a bit of brilliance from Creeds makes the difference.
Yeah, honestly impressive there from Creeds, but unfortunately for GV, the only rounds they are winning happen to be those individual play situations. They need a little bit more early momentum on their side if they want to think about winning this map as a whole, and that's where ROC Esports still seems to have them bested, and again, they do it here with the early control play. Horus and Snake, good for 3 kills on the A-long exchange there. Now Loons and FaZe, it is a much more difficult situation on their hands to deal with, especially if FaZe goes down here. Horus, you can tell he really wanted to overpeak there to take the fight, but it's a 5-on-2 and FaZe on half HP. Loons, he needs to find something huge here to try and carry some of this weight.
Yeah, Loons is the one that's going to have to get it done. That said, FaZe is not going to be useless in this engagement. He's got the Orm, so the HP often doesn't necessarily matter as much for the snipers, just because the fights are so quick. You either miss and die, or hit and don't. And in this case, as long as he keeps hitting, maybe that HP is not going to play too much of a factor here for GV Esports. So they've still got a player to dig out. That is Slayer inside of the site at the moment, waiting for this push forward from Loons. Headshot line for both of those players. Neither connecting just yet, but FaZe has fallen in the meanwhile, and so that'll give Loons a bit of a pause for thought. Can't really afford to pause at all, because Snake is wrapping in behind him. That was a laboured spray down from ROC in the end, but they get the job done. I think they had the insurance fund with the flank coming through, were it to be required anyway.
Yeah, it's still a tough road ahead for GV Compound. A map that ROC Esports tends to be the winners on. Not a whole lot of struggle for them usually, especially on the GR side of this map, and you can see they're getting more and more comfortable as this one moves forward. So for GV, I'm hoping to see maybe a bit of a change up here, but it's kind of hard to predict when you've got the GR side of ROC Esports being really aggressive for the control plays early on. You saw it in the first round where they went for the fights over towards that midsection, and then in the second there going for that A-long play, just quick trades going in their favor. So for GV, I'm interested to see what they'll do coming out of the pause, since it's a very hard map to play on the BL side, especially when you're dealing with a very strong, aggressive team on the GR side that just kind of controls that midsection in that A-long room early on. It almost forces you to feel like you have to go B, which on this map is not that easy to do.
Yeah, well, important conversation to be had right now for GV. 45 seconds left to maintain that in, but they kind of recognize that they're in that swing round. You know, the next round or two are going to be very important in terms of their ability to stay alive in this series. So just going to chat it out and hopefully put something good together here for us. Otherwise, first series is going to be a fairly swift 2-0. All things considered. Obviously, there was a bit of a tech pause during map 1, but it hasn't necessarily felt like it's been too tough a day at the office for ROC so far.
Yeah, all in all, it seems to be looking pretty positive for them, and it's definitely one they needed to pull up too after holding that #1 spot for so long. I'm sure they're eager to find a nice little 2-0 today to maybe claw back towards that #1 spot looking into next weekend. So it's going to be up to ROC Esports to see if they can seal the deal here. 3 away as we jump back into it for their GR half. And GV, you can already tell, they are scared to even take the halfway point up this map because ROC Esports, they fully have mid-control, but Snare, I'm not sure why he went for that boost. Super exposed position. He's going to be caught off guard, but at least Horus able to answer with one zone. Awesome. Kind of stuck here up top. Doesn't seem to matter too much. He's able to find one, almost a second there, but he is quite low on HP now, but look at this play on the flank. I'm not sure if they have any clue what's happening to them on the flank here. Totson, good for one. Unfortunately for him, it's not going to be quite enough, but Forrest, with 9 HP, still doing the work here, able to find himself a nice kill. He's got to know a player is lurking below him. He's going to spot it at the last minute. The Snox mid-air, able to save the day.
GV hanging on for the moment. That's still a pretty sizable deficit for them to try and overcome. Will be another fight over middle. A deep smoke out from ROC, actually. Not really something that you see all that often. But GV, they have to wait patiently behind it before getting their chance to have a look into middle. So that will cost them some time at the start of this round.
Yeah, right now for GV, it's just a matter of figuring out where they want to take these fights. They don't seem to be too comfortable anywhere. The only rounds they tend to win are when they get a little bit too scrappy on the ROC Esports side and force too many early fights when they actually have to full execute. GV hasn't had the best of luck just fully controlling the site, except for the one round where we did see Creeds have some nice entries over towards A, but this is where I want to see GV really have a nice strategic approach to the round. You can see ROC Esports, they're not eager to take the early fights this time. They want to see what GV does when they have to go for a full execute, and this is where GV tends to fumble the bag quite a bit, so I am curious to see exactly what they'll do to take this mid-control. And you can see ROC Esports, they're happy to give it up. They've got the 3-2 split, 3 on A, 2 on B, and GV, they're going to be forced to make the first move.
Well, that's a move, that's for sure. You can hear all of those flashes going off in middle, but it's not affecting anyone from ROC. They're not holding forward. Yeah, under a bit of pressure here. He does get his one, but no more than that. And they're going down, leaves Horus alone. He can't do much. Slayer for the rotate to catch up with GV in the end. ROC Esports will take one step closer to the 2-0. They're now up to 8 rounds, 2 more required. They've got quite a nice buffer to work with here as well. It is definitely looking like their day today.
Yeah, surely for ROC Esports, they've got what they need. They've just got to be careful in these situations to try and hang on to it. There, though, a bit of an unconditional miss. Not connecting on the mid player. It's going to be Snox able to run away here with the C4, but Slayer, I really like this position. It's so hard to check this from the BL perspective. Snox has to be ready, but he is! He gets the shot with the quick reactions there to get it done, and now they at least have an advantage for the round. But the problem with ROC Esports, as we've seen all day long, is the numbers don't really seem to matter too much for them. Even with a player or two disadvantaged, they know how to find those individual openings.
Looks like he wants to do something aggressive here to try and equalize the numbers. Not going to be too overeager, just having a peek through the window, but certainly spotting a few of those guys in pillars and coming that over to the team. FaZe! He's dropping out the mid window on his own. Back to now a 4v4 for, I would argue, not really much of a reason there. I think that's a bit of a misplay from FaZe. Awesome might have a bit of a crack, but he's going to lose his head to Snake. That was a little bit more of a standard one. The flash did come through from one of his teammates, but it's starting to look a little messy for GV. These little things starting to let the round slip, and it is more or less being taken advantage of by ROC. A nice flank in from Horus will steal the deal. But GV not doing themselves any favors in that round.
Yeah, it's going to be a nice early match point here. Opportunity for ROC Esports, but the big downside for GV now. Backs against the wall for the remainder of this series. They would have to have 4 in a row just to have a chance in overtime, but the way ROC Esports is playing, that does not seem too likely here. You can already see as well, Snare takes the early mid control. Now he's holding on to the vector position. Has to kind of fall back though. A little bit too much aggression from ROC Esports. Catches the pick of Watson over towards FaZe. Slayer looking for that reconnect through the smoke. Not going to be able to find anything just yet, so ROC Esports not going to have the numbers this time around to work with.
I'm not going to count my chickens before they hatch for GV, though. Conversion rate on the 4v5s, you want to be sort of 75% plus if you get the opening kill in converting the round. Don't know that they've quite hit that level today. So this one is definitely not over for ROC just yet, but 2 very isolated bomb sites in the immediate moment. Although Snare starting to come across to have a little bit of a look on the mid line, which will in some ways assist the A hold. He's now been smoked off. GV are going to take their time about things. They do clear out the A side of the map, and they're going to start to rotate their way back over to B. Unfortunately for ROC, they're going to find it difficult to get any info on this until it's probably a little bit too late to call those rotators across. So it's going to come down to these 2 defenders, Snare and Slayer.
Already, quick explosive play from GV. Should get them the control they're looking for over towards the bomb side. Snake, though, actually does a lot of damage, but it's not going to matter for too long. We take down Snock right there to get the job done, and it's a pretty flawless round from GV, but they're going to need a lot more than that to get themselves all the way back into this one. So ROC Esports, we'll see what they have left in store to respond with to try and answer back and close this one out, but this is where they have to show they can play their cards right on the aggressive plays. GV doing a good job in that previous round, catching them overextending, and you can see this time Loons almost goes down there. It's going to be a leg shot from the to get the round started.
Let's see how GV go about it without having found the opening kill. They may still get it. Horus, though, usually pretty good in this position about at least getting himself one perfectly timed flash, and then the peek onto Creed. Awesome under pressure here, but Horus can't survive long enough to allow Snare to come in for the trade. He was working in that direction. Eventually, he will catch up with Awesome, who maybe stuck around a little bit too long. So now it's a numbers deficit, and certainly a massive health deficit as well for GV that they're going to have to overcome if they want to stay alive in this series.
Slayer, though, able to catch FaZe again, pushing out of that tower by himself through the window. The drop-down play not going to work out. Snock spotted. They know it's a deep push coming through. Potson just has to hold on to this position, and Slayer with the swing will bring this one to a close, 2-0. It's going to be the sweep from ROC Esports today. A great redemption after a tough bit of days from them. They're back in action now.
Yeah, most definitely. Horus straight on the gram, you know, to make sure he's posting about the W. And an easy victory in the end for ROC Esports, which was kind of more in line with our expectations. I think they had pretty shaky couple of matches previously. The loss to unKnights obviously being one, and then Anubis earlier on this week. Look, the Anubis game was pretty close, to be fair. I mean, it's close in the sense that it went to 3 maps. But it wasn't really up to scratch. It wasn't really up to the level that we've come to sort of know and love and expect from ROC Esports. So it's good to see them getting back into their winning ways, and hopefully that'll be the sort of the kick up the backside that they need to like really lock in for the rest of this season.
Yeah, I think now the big question mark is going to be GV moving forward. They've had a bit of a tough time, but hopefully they can bounce back in the future when we see them next. But that's going to be all from us on the desk. We're going to send it back to our analyst here to break this one down.
Thank you so much, Kyle and Elvish guy.
As expected, no?
Not just as expected. This is the ROC that I like to watch.
Yeah.
This is the aggressive ROC that you like to see, you know.
Exactly.
And especially players like Horus, you know, he always stands out. I'm speaking of all the players, but I really like Horus, and he really did a lot of he's one of the main reasons why at some point right after the timeout they started securing round after round, and I really think that ROC played the defensive side a bit better than
when
GV.
you put a single player on a single side, like him only on A, him only in B, I'm speaking about Horus, it means that this guy, I'm confident enough in him that I can give him a whole side to hold, knowing that they can gamble on this side, knowing that they can just full push B, full push A, and leaving Horus here for the second time on the second map. He does his role, honestly, perfectly fine, killing 1 or killing 2 before just, you know, getting killed and giving enough information for his team.
Agreed.
And what is also nice about him is he can play with his util. What I really like about ROC Esports in most of their matches, they know how to use their util. They just don't start of the round, they throw their grenades, flashes, smokes. No. It's the late round, the last 20 seconds. If they're playing defense side, if they're playing on attack side, they know how to utilize their utility. Flashes and grenades from Horus are used to slow down the push. I remember on round 6 he used 1 single flash to just slow down things. They are going to kill him. They are going to get him and easily kill him. But he did buy a lot of time for him and his teammates. And at the end of the day, he came out of the game with a solid PDA, 1.33. And another player, I think, that does not get enough credits for his clutches and for his heroic plays is Potson.
Yeah, definitely.
Man, the man is insane at this point. When you are able to get this weird kills, this heroic kills,
unusual ones.
The unusual ones. You have to give the guy enough credits because he's everywhere, man. He's like a joker. He's on the defender side. He can stay on the mid next to Horus and at the same time next to next to Slayer. He 100% deserves the MVP.
I mean, speaking of Totson and ROC overall, I really think their coaches are doing a great job in diversifying how they execute every single round. Like, it's never the same pace, right? Like, they would play 1 round, super safe, get a pick or 2, step back, rotate to another side. Or sometimes they just go in guns blazing, you know, and it showed, right? It was really impressive at the end of the day.
Yes.
Especially, like you said, Totson, the MVP, he was very composed, he was very patient, and even in a 1v3, 1v2, at a 1v anything, this man kept it composed, and he tried his best to help his team win.
He has his impact, and as I said, he's like a joker. He can snipe. He can AK, he can M4. Let's just watch the highlights. He has all the weapons, man.
He's a hybrid.
Exactly. Hybrid player with a lot of reflexes and reactions speed. It is not on one single side. He's used as an anchor. At the same time, you can use him as the player that you need to get himself the first blood, the first kill, and what is important in Crossfire rather than the first blood and the first kill to enter the site. So I think that's a comeback story from ROC Esports after a small losing streak, 2 games in a row, with a statement of, okay, we are here, we are coming back, and hey, unKnights do have a contender, do have a challenge against ROC Esports.
Yeah, I mean, it's I wouldn't even call it the pyramid, you know. At this point, it's a square, right? You have unKnights, Anubis, GG, and Entropy. I mean, sorry, and unKnights. And Anubis, ROC, unKnights, and GG. There you go. Sorry, I got a bit word mumbled there. Anyways.
I said Dipsy.
Yeah, exactly. It overlapped. Anyways, I just wanted to say good job for ROC, and I still have a lot of hope in GV as well, nonetheless. There is still, I wouldn't say plenty of games to play, but it's still, you know, it's still doable, right? Like, don't lose hope, obviously. You can keep trying, and you might persevere.
Exactly.
Now I'd like to take it to our interview with Mr. Slayer.
Hey.
Hello.
Hello, Mr. Slayer. عامل ايه يا باشا? How are you?
زي الفل يا باشا.
تمام.
I'm good.
Alhamdulillah. How do you guys feel?
After losing 2 matches or?
No, both. You know, like losing 2 matches is fine. I really do believe in your potential and that you guys are exceptionally well-rounded to be able to, even if you come out of a loss like you just did, perform. You know.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter in the even if we lose in the regular season, it doesn't matter. Like all the potential is just saved for playoffs, and that's it. We're just saving for the playoffs.
Yeah, so at this
Doesn't
point,
really
you're
matter if
just
we lose
trying
now.
to stay in the top 4 as well, and then playoffs is when hopefully you guys will shine and do your best. And I appreciate that. Hazel, do you have anything you'd like to say?
No questions, actually, Koshari, for Slayer. I think after losing 2 games, then coming back stronger as ever, I have no questions. You covered everything. Congratulations to you, Slayer. You guys are insane. And big shout out to Totsen, man.
Thank you. Yeah, he's insane.
All right, perfect. I'll leave it at that. Thank you so much, Slayer. Enjoy the rest of your day and best of luck in your future games, my man. Take care.
And I saw Horace speaking in the background. I forgot all my questions. So
you saw Horace speaking in the back. Okay,
looks scary. Yeah.
I get it. I mean, at the end of the day, I really think that ROC, just because they had 2 losses doesn't mean anything, to be honest. Like, we've seen teams in all competitive levels, in all regions, bounce back and do good. Same thing for GV. I wish them both the best of luck. Now, let's jump to match 2. Could you please enlighten me with some of your insight? You know, what do you think is going to happen? TBI and 999, you know, like that. I don't care about standings, in my opinion. I'm here for entertainment, right?
Look,
and I think they're going to put on a good show.
If you're here for entertainment, we will surely be entertained. TBI and 999, meaning we're going to see Penguin Hunt all over the place again. So it's been unlucky for the boys. If it was TPI or 999, last 2 places on the standings, 7th and 8th place, but forget about the standings. We are here to be entertained at the end of the day, and TPI do entertain us with experience and with the plays that we need to see from Dirty, from King, from Penguin, and from Hunt, and that's from only TPI side. Now, speaking from the other team side, aka 999, when you have QGK, PYK, and the big sniper, the mega mind, the guy that I love and respect, Chris CRS from Team 999, meaning that we will see a lot of highlights. Now, strat-wise or team play-wise, we do see a lot from Team 999, more than Team TPI, because of the chemistry and the synchronization. They've been with each other since a long time, speaking from 999. They've just been unlucky on this split, and if it's not a split, then there is always another split within GV.
Yeah, I mean, it's the beginning of the year for both teams, right? Like, you don't always have to start off the year, even if I think you learn the most even if you lose, right? Like, winning all the time is fun and all, but at the end of the day, if you're not losing even to very strong competitors, you're not really going to develop and learn much, you know what I mean? So, and even yesterday, we saw a decent performance from TBI, and I feel like 999, because they haven't played in a while, so it just took them some time to find their rhythm, and I think they're more than capable of doing that, and I really hope so too, you know.
I just want to see that even if you are on the last levels of the standings, last ranking of the standings, I want to see if TPI played against 999, who can get this one, who can have this victory, because it has a lot of potential and it speaks for itself. So that, okay, for the next split, let me have some information, some insights about TPI or 999. If you ask me for my predictions about TPI overall, I think TPI will have an insane next split for them, because the first split is just a warm-up split. The team is new, the team is fresh.
Young organization,
yeah, we do say this every day, I know, but when you're new, you just, it takes a lot of off-season time and out-season time, the season time to just get used to each other, and the name speaks for themselves. I mean, it's not new names just coming to the team, no, it's just OGs, but you know, getting to play with each other for the first time. Penguin, Hunt, Dirty King, and Booker, and the list goes on for them.
I mean, just looking at TBI's roster, Hunt is back. Let's say Avin, I really appreciate him as a sub, and I think at some point this man should also have a role in the main roster, to be honest, because yeah, he's young, but young is good, you know. When you're young, you can always learn way more. You have a lot more potential to absorb mentally and to increase as an individual and to help your team out. And let's not forget, King was the old in-game leader, and now Penguin is, so that means they can both have some sort of leadership role when it comes to this team, and they seem very relaxed and chill and ready to go, you know what I mean? What do you think? Like, I think TBI has a bit of a higher advantage to win this game, to be honest, compared to 999, simply because, without bias, all bias aside, 999 just hasn't played in, I think, a week or two, even more.
Exactly. And even with their match yesterday, you said it yourself, they've been inactive for a while. 2 matches, meaning it's a long period since we play 3 days a week. So for them to come back and play against TBI, which is one of the strong teams overall, speaking about the individuals, it's going to be a tough match for them. But we did see CRS and BYK and QGK play insanely good. Not only them, but the rest of the boys. Well, so this is a game that it might go for a map 3, in my opinion.
I really hope so, right? We're here for entertainment, and so is the audience. Nevertheless, some of them are fans of either teams or future matches to come, but it's all a learning experience for everyone. And I really think 999, regardless, this is a pattern I notice, right? Even if you have a solid roster, sometimes it just needs a lot more exposure, right? They just need to play together more and get that integration of which teammates you can rely on, who's going to be the best entry, who's the one who's going to trade. Just like last match, right? I don't think at some point with ROC against GV, if anyone got headshot or whatever, there was always a trade within a second or two after. I really hope to see that as well.
Me
and
too,
I think
man.
with TBI and 999, there's just going to be like the element of lurk and the map selection and so on that's going to define the game.
And also the element of a head start game for any of the teams, actually, if TBI or 999. Head starts is going to be so important for both teams because, let's be honest, they are kind of on the same levels now. Maybe TBI, as you said, has a bit of an edge individual-wise, but you can, make up for it from 999 with the chemistry and synchronization, and the list goes on that they are so comfortable with each other, and they did find their identity nonetheless. Anyways, Ankara is instantly backed by team TPI, which is understandable. We have Eagle Eye as decider. See if Ankara TPI managed to get their hands on it, then I'm sure we're going map 3, because for 999 it's the only map they did well.
Yeah, I mean, at this point in stage of this series, I feel like both teams just need to salvage any win they can get, for many reasons, right? Even if you're not aiming for top 4, but at least aim to improve as a team and as individuals and gain that experience and absorb all this exposure to CrossFire within a competitive level to actually utilize it in future games and future series. It's the beginning of the year, we're not expecting much, but I really do believe they have a chance to shine, right? Like top it's not about top 4 or lower 4. Like all 8 teams, I think, are worthy at some point to reach the playoffs.
Yeah, it's the West League, and it's the most important teams out there playing, competing. The top 8 teams within the West League that has both Triple Nine and TBI players to keep an eye on. I must say, Hunt and Hunt and Dirty from TBI, and from Triple Nine, Dean, the Clutch Master, and Chris from Team Triple Nine. So I picked both snipers and, in my opinion, the Clutch Masters for both teams.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, and I'm really excited, you know, because at the end of the day, I just hope it gets to a best of 3. And nonetheless, they still have multiple matches to play, so this is their time to actually gain some momentum and possibly take that into a snowball effect and beat other stronger teams. And without further ado, I'll send it to our casters. Let's get into the next series.
All right, it is going to be our second series of the day. We've got the 7th and 8th seed going head-to-head. I'm really hoping at some point we are going to see that redemption arc begin for 999, but what a match to try and start it on. This is their opportunity. You know, they're against the 7th seed. TBI hasn't looked the best, so maybe this is the beginning of that uphill trajectory.
Are you already playing favorites, Kyle? You want to see 999 with the dub here, not TBI? Why don't you want to see the redemption arc for 999, or why do you want to see the redemption arc for 999 but not for TBI? Huh? What's going on there?
I feel like this is a team that is capable of doing it, and seeing them 0-8 almost doesn't do justice to what we're seeing right now. This is a strong team. They've got a good mix of players here to try and make this happen, and already they've got a nice couple kills to kick off this first map of the series. So it's a good start here. Unfortunately, not a second connection here over on this A-long play. You can see Booker kind of reigniting it, but hey, 2 kills isn't bad to kick this one off, and now you've got a nice little 2-on-3 situation with Penguin. They've got no idea. He is still in the BL spawn here, and this is where things could go a little bit wrong. You can see Favor and Dane, the last 2 players alive in this situation. Dane just kind of lurking in that A vent, but Penguin again able to hold the line in mid, and just like that, what started off as a good round is taken away.
Yeah, look, I don't know. From my perspective, I actually kind of want to see this be the turning point a little bit for TBI. So maybe we're sitting on different sides of the fence. But, I mean, looking at the names in this TBI roster, I just think they should be performing better than they have been so far. And even yesterday night, watching them play, there was some really, really nice moments. In particular, I thought, from Hunt. So my benefit of the doubt, at least in this series, is going to be in the direction of TBI. We'll see which one of us has a better read on things, because we often do end up differing, and normally one of us is right, at least, which is good. BYK. Ooh, actually, that's looking pretty nasty indeed. 2 kills with the Orm, then pulls out the pistol, gets himself 3. Not over just yet. Dirty and Penguin both holding on to Orms themselves. C4 is locked in on this A site. Penguin has to be aware of that wrap coming in behind as well. Fairly unwinnable looking round for TBI, you would think. Unless Penguin maybe doesn't get checked, but how is that possible? Minchin right here must be looking, must check. He must check it. Oh, he hasn't. If Dirty would have been able to pick up a kill over towards A, then there would have been a potentially pretty different story, but it's apparently going to have to be Penguin for round 1 and Penguin for round 2 as well for TBI if they want to win. They won't get it.
Yeah, honestly, a really solid round from 999 there, responding after what should have been probably a 2-0 start for them. Already you can see Flair off to a great start, 6-2. I really like the change they made last weekend, starting to put him as that secondary on user alongside Dane. It's gone a long ways for their development as a team, but this time around it's going to be TBI aggressing towards the B Hotel and going 1-for-1, but Min out the window, baits out the shots, gets them the advantage right back. You can see here now, it's all Dirty and King on the rotation that have to get it done. The problem here is they don't have the C4. It's in the BL spawn. Even with the site being cleared, they're in a bit of a sticky situation here. They have to decide if they want to double back or continue on like they have the C4 in their hands. But if someone's able to push out and find that C4, it could turn things around pretty quickly.
Yeah, they're kind of honestly just hoping that 999 are going to make the mistake of giving them a pick. Don't mind this position at all, though. King on his way past into middle. Two very isolated GR players, though, could be a problem with TBI working together here. It's never easy to take a 2-on-1. But first job, of course, for TBI is to go back and grab that C4, which is going to occur relatively quickly. I thought it was going to be unscathed, but apparently not, as Dirty's now been spotted out. So it is down to just the singular player of King. He could make the call to go A, and I think that would at least afford him a plant, but instead deciding to work his way back through the known territory of middle.
Yeah, for King, it's going to be a tough one to read, especially with how patient Favor has been in this position, just kind of hanging out in the tower for most of the round. He has no idea he's still going to be there. And there you have it, 999. They do take the lead. They've also won the opening picks every single round so far. A lot of that thanks to Flair, 7-2 with that Om in his hands, continuing to find those early kills, and that's where TBI has to show what they can do in these early round situations. They're not winning the early fights, even though on the execution, they do look like the slightly more favorable team.
These early rounds have just been not very favorable at all for TBI. That's another good one. Really struggling against the Orb now is TBI. Penguin going down. A big loss for the squad. And that'll slow things down, it seems like, for TBI, as they've recognized that they've got a lot of time to play with here. Minshin round the back for the flank. 9. They are, I think at this point, honestly, Kyle, just disrespecting TBI a little bit. And frankly, why not? It's working.
Yeah, I mean, right now, it's a very difficult position for Dirty to try and recover from. Min, good for a third kill on the round, and King all alone, 1 versus 5. He does at least have the C4 to work with, but there are so many players around his position right now. There's just no way out of that situation, and it is going to be 999 continuing forward strong here, and this is what I like to see from this team. A lot of it continuing to be Flair getting that opener, but this time Min finding some good positioning himself, and it's starting to feel like a really well-rounded performance now from 999. Meanwhile, you've got some of the veterans on the opposite side struggling to hold their feet to the fire. Penguin goes down early. At least this time there's a trade there, but look at Min's position, just catches Booker off guard. You'll love to see it here for 999, continuing to rain down these early round entries. And now Dirty and King left alone again to pick up the pieces.
Yeah, just not coming together at all for TBI, is it? Dane? Well, this could be a mishap. Out in no man's land, he misses his shot and gives up control on the A side of the map. Again, not sure that that was so necessary. C4 under the control of 999, though. TBI have a bit of a problem, I guess, with leaving that C4 behind. It may come back to bite them again here. 999 not interested in playing around the C4 either, apparently, and so they're just going to go set themselves up in mid. I don't think either team really knows what they want to be doing in this round. They're just kind of like walking around the map looking for one another and hoping for the best.
Yeah, it's a bit awkward here, but the timing from Dirty, pretty perfect from that position on A long. Goes for the re-peek. Unfortunately, it is going to be King here for the response, and a nice hold there, but still some sloppy rounds, I would say, across the board, especially in these late round situations where we've had multiple times the C4 gets thrown out of position. They're forced to kind of just play around and wait to see what happens instead of having a much more standard and solid approach on the TBI side, which is kind of surprising to see, right? You think Penguin, being the IGL of this team, would have them in a bit more of a comfortable and structured position, but so far in this map, that doesn't seem to be the case.
No, 100% agree with you. Just been a little bit messy from TBI, and that's definitely been exploited by 999, although, has to be said, 999 have not been perfect either. Once again, having a look at Dane's position, though Chris may be the one that gets involved in these fights first. There is a creep coming from Dirty. Dane waiting on the line. Vic is going to have a look into middle there as well, and now the swing comes through. Dirty, who was so impactful for TBI yesterday, getting one there onto Dane to start things off in this round. He'll be helped out in that AWP mission by Penguin, and now Hunt with the rifle at the top of mid. He's going to be able to find a way to strike. So it's a round that's just kind of fallen apart for 999. Nothing at all happening in this round for them.
Yeah, a lot of missed shots on their side, but the exact opposite could be said about TBI. Penguin, Hunt doing a lot of work in this round to hit those shots and get it done, but it all started with Dirty there, getting that nice pick onto Dane, and that honestly seems like the missing piece right now for 999. You have a lot of solid entries, but Dane, historically a strong performer on this has been struggling quite a bit so far in this matchup, and now you've got Penguin as well, starting to find more early picks with the in his hands, which is pretty much a unique situation because Penguin, not someone, when I look at this lineup, I'd ever expect to see the in hands of.
TBI also things down off of that initial kill, but now starting to work their way back into mid through the A connector. Seeing this kind of a setup a few times from TBI. 999 ready for it, so getting a little bit telegraphed here, TBI. A little bit one-dimensional. Good trade, though, from Hunt. Keeps it comfortable with the numbers. But where does TBI go from here? What's the actual call? What's the mid-round discussion? Get that C4 and actually commit to something. Again, a lot of these rounds, it does just feel like, okay, we're going to just run around the map and try to frag out. How many bomb plants have we even seen? Like, barely any.
Yeah, it's been only a couple rounds so far out of the 6. The bomb's actually gotten planted, and a lot of that is due to these early fights, and you can see here, CRS ready to take another one, but King, a really nice trade there to make sure it doesn't go too far. Min and Dane now left in the retake. We haven't seen a whole lot from Dane, so if he could have a big round here, it would be a great statement for him. Good things on his side, but this time around, it is going to be a quick trade on to Min. Dane now left alone in the GR spawn. 30 seconds on the bomb to find his way through the utility, making it a really difficult retake here. He just goes ahead and forces the issue right away, and this is where he might have a chance to catch them off guard with an early peek. Dirty on the corner, has a chance to go for the wide swing, can't actually find the connection, but there's no time to work with now. 10 seconds, and Dane is going to have to move a lot quicker than this to get the job done. He knows he has to fake the defuse and hope for the best at this point, but Dane, there's just no time. Dirty stalls the clock perfectly and gets the round for TBI.
Yeah. Another one of these series which just sort of feels like it swings back and forth on a dime. No consistency out from either of these teams necessarily, but TBI able to put their noses in front. And that's with Booker going 0-6, by the way. So I think that this would be a little bit more of a comfortable game from TBI if Booker was having any kind of impact on the scoreboard at all. Because at the moment they're essentially playing 4v5, so even a 4-3 scoreline for TBI might not actually be that bad of a position to be in given those circumstances. You can't imagine that Booker's going to be staying out of this engagement for all that long. Maybe take him a little while to get into the game, but once he's here, he's going to be able to have that impact anyway. So something still left in the tank, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at here for TBI.
Yeah, I mean, right now, it's going to be a tougher round for 999. They've got to deal with this mid push. On top of that, they've decided to use 3 OMs as well, which does allow for some potential issues if the missed shots come through on those first peaks. And you can see they are a little bit spread out with them. They've got kind of one in each lane at the moment, with 2 of them a little bit closer to that B bomb site. But this is where I worry for Dane the most in this position. He's kind of a solo anchor on this site. Hasn't been very solid today so far in holding these solo angles and could potentially get caught there. But it's actually going to be a full shift happening over towards the A bomb side, and it's going to be up to Flare and Min on this hold. You can see they've got a nice little bait and switch setup, but a lot of it's going to come down to if they clear Min fast enough in this position.
Okay. Right back into the swing of things there. Minchin with a double kill, and very difficult for King to find that trade. And eventually he does, but this opens the door up for another trade back, and 9 will keep the scoreline pretty even.
Yeah, overall, still the back and forth continuing in this one. TBI still kind of struggling a little bit in these weird mid-round situations. You've got Booker continuing to get caught off guard in a lot of these early fights as well. He seems to be the player going down fairly early, a little bit too often for TBI, and if he could maybe find a way to change the pace, that could be the missing component here to get this one a little bit further in TBI's direction. But right now, as it remains, still a very close game. A lot of it coming down to these users on the 999 side of things, establishing those early advantage plays between Favor and Flare here, just kind of holding the line. But this time, Min, a little bit overzealous on that peak, loses a lot of HP early on in this round, moves himself into the vent, but he actually takes the swing anyways onto Hunt. That was a really risky play. I'm surprised he wasn't taken down for it, but look at Dane here. Fearlessly pushes all the way through B connector and is able to fall off with a free kill.
Hunt waiting for a bit of aggression out from 999. Doesn't look as though he's going to be getting it. Minchen smoked off for the moment. Wanted the TBI just back up here, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. Now Hunt's going to take matters into his own hands, and in the last couple of rounds, Minchen has been absolutely insane. He's now gone up to 10 and 7. He might get one more. Of course he will. He's hitting everything right now. It's just Booker left, and that will be his first kill of the half, which comes, one would say, a little too late, but 5-4, 4-5, whichever way you want to paint it, is definitely a workable position for both teams.
Yeah, still a really even game as we go into the side swap, and you've got to hand it to 999 though in these last couple of rounds, especially Min. I think he put up 5 or 6 kills in the last 2 rounds, really doing a great job of continuing to keep things looking good for them. But this is where 999, I always start to doubt them on this PL side. This is where they're a bit more unorganized. You can already see it in this opening round here. Hunt able to somehow sneak away with 2 kills before going down to Min on the late trade. And already the rotation is there. The bomb has been dropped on top of it. And it is not the way they wanted to start off the second half for 999.
Yeah, that's very true. So I need a big individual moment maybe here from one of these 2 remaining players. Look up. Again, kind of just floating around in no man's land. Is going to give up at least one part of the advantage, but the trade should come back through. Bit of a laboured spray in the end from King, but he'll get the job done. MJK got it out down there as well at the bottom of mid. And TBI keep themselves pretty close. And the scoreline back to 5-5. We could probably go in the distance for this map. I've got to be real with you, Kyle. Unless maybe 999 is just awful on this GR side. I think it feels like we're going to 10-8 type of scoreline.
Yeah, it's definitely possible here. This is one where I would expect a close finish here. At this point, though, TBI still needs to find a way to play a little bit more cohesive on this side of the map. They're kind of been struggling a little bit too much, but you can kind of say the same either way. Both of these teams a bit inconsistent on the team play side of things, kind of over-relying on these individuals to carry the weight right now. It's been a lot of Min and Flare for the side of 999, 12 and 14 kills respectively between the 2 of them, really leading the charge in this series so far. And if they can keep it up, there's a real world that makes the difference, but it's going to have to be up to these 2 players on the A-bomb site this time around for TBI. You've got Penguin and Booker, who definitely have something to prove in this one, especially Booker, who's been a bit quiet, but he's going to remain that way as the push comes through. Penguin as well goes down. He can't hold his feet to the fire in that 5-on-1 exchange. Flare now holds on to the GR spawn as the rotators are already right in his face, but this off angle is just so hard to deal with.
Especially when you got Minchen on that line as well, ready to spring on the contact. And it's actually Minchen that takes the first contact there. But either way, works out nicely for 999. Booker might have to consider changing his name up here because he's actually getting booked. He's not the one doing the booking. He is receiving the booking. But perhaps booked would be more relevant than Booker at this point. Unless he can turn things around. TBI down 6-5 now. Continue to be that team that kind of has to play the catch-up role. As long as they don't let this blow out too far, they'll feel like they're still in the game. But at a certain point, you just run out of rounds to play with. And That point is not too far away.
Yeah, I mean, especially considering this map tends to be a bit more BL-sided. 999 in the more favorable position for sure here, and this is where TBI, the individuals, have to start carrying the weight a bit more. Booker especially being an anchor on this A-bomb side. It is so hard to retake A on this map, but look at the positioning. Flair's been gifted for free, somehow able to sneak away Penguin, at least able to secure the trade, but 999 always there in this round to make sure they're answering that back and forth here. And now you can see TBI starting to rotate a little bit towards B, but look at this flank here. CRS, he's got all of the information, and now he might even have a free bomb site on top of it. Dirty as well. A bit of a miss here over on the B bomb site, but it's not going to matter. Look at the C4. They have the smart rotations going through now. It's going to be a 3v2 on the post plant as the C4 sneaks its way over to the A bomb site.
I'd rather just see him hightail it straight in, to be quite honest with you. There's a chance here that TBI could get ahead of this timing. Smoke now down, though. Gonna make for a bit more of a difficult time for them. Flash over the top as well. Doesn't seem to have slowed down TBI at all. That's a good kill from Hunt, but too much to do. And 999 secure themselves another round. Build that lead out to 2. Wonder if they can now accelerate off the back of this. Break the mental of TBI. Maybe not. Penguin. That was QJK.
Yeah, tough break in the early part of the round here. Penguins still getting a lot of nice entries for TBI. The big question mark here is going to be the players that have been a little bit more quiet, though, in these rounds. Dane, 3-8, Booker, 1-11. Those are the two I've been looking at to see who's going to step up first to maybe make the difference for their team in this match. Both of them kind of struggling in these early round fights. Penguin, though, wants to take the fight on to Minchen and gets the job done for 2 to go his way in this round, and now that could be all the difference they need to hold on to it, but wait just a minute there. It is going to be Flair finding one on A, leaving Hunt alone. Hunt, though, he's going to get a little bit proactive, pushing through the vent, and this is where he has to make sure he doesn't get caught too early. If he goes down before the rotations come through, they might be able to just collapse onto this A bomb site, but I do like the approach from 999, not trying to over-aggress here. They know they need an additional kill to answer back with, and Flair finds himself another.
There's a push happening on the behalf of TBI with King out of the B side of the map now, all the way actually pretty much into the BL spawn. It's a long wrap. It's a long push. Just wonder if it's going to end up having any impact at all. A lot of that now comes down to this peak. Or perhaps not this peak, which would be the correct decision in the end. And the timing will work out for 999. It seems they have just swindled their way into the B bomb site. TBI have to be aware of that possibility. But now they're going to be cut off on the rotate. Impact going down. Penguin. Oh, he's just missed the shot, but it's all good. The pistol comes out, gets the job done. 2 on 2 now, though. As Dirty was also able to chime in with a kill. Big getting so much work done from behind. Dirty tasked with what feels now to be a bit of an impossible clutch. 999 starting to take this game away from TBI, and Kara is looking dangerous now.
Yeah, a lot of the danger, though, on this map seems to be coming from Flair. I believe he may have even had an ace in this round. I think he killed every single player, so an amazing performance from him so far, really stepping up these last couple of weeks, sitting on 21 kills in this map. Basically on pace to potentially grab, I think, the most kills we've seen in a single map this season, but not this time around. It's going to be the vibes here coming out from Penguin. 2 kills very early on for TBI, but they still have to be able to hold on to the line, and that's what scares me the most. Even with Penguin getting 2, you still need those extra players to put in the work towards this A bomb site. Hunt rotating early, though, could be what they needed to hold on here, because Booker has not been able to hold the line at all in these situations, so having that extra support might be able to help them get it done. But Dane actually catches one. Flair able to catch another 1v2 situation now. We'll see if the star player can do it once again for the side of 999.
Oh, this is so doable. He's 22-7. He's got a minute and a half to play with. And he's got the C4 in hand as well. And 999 look like they're going to give him the A site. So he'll be able to get a post plant here if he goes quickly and gets that plant down. And where does he decide to play the post plant from? Well, that's anybody's guess at that point. TBI would have let this round slip already, and they just don't know it yet. In fact, he's going to go all the way around to B. I don't think that's a bad choice at all. Deciding to slow down maybe. TBI is still unsure exactly where he's going to end up going, but it seems as though they might gamble towards B, and timing doesn't work out for him in the end. There were so many options that could have put that, if not into a favorable position, at least into a winnable position for 999, but didn't go that way. Here we are at 8-6 instead.
Yeah, a lot of this is going to come down to what TBI wants to do in these last couple of rounds in regulation. They've got to have a lot of energy, especially towards this A side of the map, going in their direction, and that's what scares me the most with this A-bomb side hold. Booker, 1-13, has to be a huge anchor and get something done here. Otherwise, 999, they can just kind of roll through here because Hunt's really the only threat on this bomb site they've actually had to deal with, and this is where it puts that extra pressure on Hunt, knowing his teammate on site hasn't had the best of games. He has to get essentially a minimum of 2 kills here if they want to hold on to this bomb site, especially as they stare down the barrel of a 5-player push coming his direction, and he has no idea. They're already right behind him in the vents. Hunt, he's going to hold on anyways. Good for 2. The trade is there, but now Booker, this has to be his moment to hold on to the site here. 999, they're going to put that extra pressure onto him, but there's actually no full commitment just yet. You can see their favor trying to get a bit cheeky over the top. Here comes the flash, but Booker, this time, able to drop the C4 and stall just enough for the rotation to come through.
Yeah, job getting a bit more difficult for 999 now. C4, difficult spot. Penguin having been spotted out though. Shot not connecting. Probably seals the deal here for TBI. They're going to go up to 7. So maybe a late map resurgence. It's nice again from Hunt, and very similar to what we saw him doing a lot of yesterday. A lot of multi-frags coming out from him in pretty key rounds. He's a fairly reliable player in that sense. Scoreline gap. Back to just the 1 now. Starting to maybe feel that pressure back on the shoulders of 999 again.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough situation, especially when you're thinking about a team that hasn't won a series all season long. You get close to the finish line, but this team has struggled to get the job done completely all season long. They've had so many 8-round games where they just couldn't close it, or even overtime situations where they couldn't find the win. And this is where you'd love to see a team that's been struggling this whole time find a way to get it done. But for TBI, they know how important a win like this would truly be if they want to find themselves somehow in the top 4 at the end of this season. And you can tell in this round, the pressure is coming very, very slowly from 999, just putting that early round 3-2 split towards the B bomb side into action. You can see CRS just holding down for that A flank, but this is where TBI start to maybe push out a little bit. Penguin and King going for the lower underpass peek on the mid to Dane. He's ready for it, cannot connect on the shots, and that is where you've got Favor here and CRS on the other side trying to make sure it goes their way. They find a 2-for-1 exchange, not a bad way to kick off the round.
Gonna get into the B bomb side, but maybe not quickly enough. TBI still looking to contest. Getting blown out by quite a lot of util, but doesn't seem to be a problem for Dirty at all. He's still landing his shots. C4 has yet to go down. There is a safe plan available. This wrap around the back is going to be a big one, and we'll see what happens over there. The shot's coming in. Everyone walks away alive, but TBI slowly closing that net in on 999. Under 30 seconds left now for this retake, though. And they're going to have to start to make their move into the site proper. Good setup here for Dirty. Waiting for the P to come through. Hunt, reliable as ever. Getting some work done, and now it's just on to BYK. He's got to try and make this one happen. 12 seconds. Time to buy. Unfortunately, not enough of it for TBI, but 8 apiece is where we find ourselves. 999 let another one slip.
Yeah, this is where it's going to become really difficult for them. They're starting to chain together rounds on the TBI side of things. You've got Hunt and Dirty really coming to life in these last couple of rounds. Penguin continuing to help find those entries, so it's going to be a really tough road ahead, and this is where 999 might have to show us one of their best performances all season long if they really want to get this done. They've had a lot of positives in this map, but these are the 2 rounds that really matter the most here, and of course, it's going to be Penguin on the other side of their first exchange. He's going to get that information, though. Makes the decision to play it from a passive angle, but what's this? Flare goes through for one with Min grabbing the other onto Penguin, completely flashed out of position. Now they've got a huge advantage on the round. King goes down as well, and they've got everything they need to potentially win this round.
There's no chance about a potential anymore. We'll just lock that one in. So just at the 11th hour, TBI kind of let that 1 round slip, and it's back to advantage for 999. Their map to lose again. Obviously, overtime, a very real possibility here. But that was a decisive round for 999. We should have some confidence going into this final round of regulation.
It is going to be an interesting play from TBI. It's a bit of a gamble, putting their entire team in mid at the start of the round, but quickly, they're going to think better of it, going back to the 2-1-2 setup, leaving Dirty as kind of the lone wolf here in mid. But this is where we need to see a bit of a change up from 999. They have 2 OMs on the field, which means they can't really afford to take the risk of just going for the push before they find an early kill. They really need to find someone before they full commit here from one of these snipers, and hopefully they can find their way through to it. But at the moment, TBI, I like the change here as well. The 3-player stack on the A bomb site. They've got that extra security here, and it does put Dirty in a difficult spot if he goes down without much of a fight, though, and they might take the challenge very quickly onto this position. You can see Favor and Min both on the opposite corner, holding on to that mid staircase, thinking about going in for the fight. The C4 grouping up there as well, and it could be a mid to A play, and this is where Dirty has to connect on at least 2. Otherwise, this pinch becomes extremely difficult to deal with.
Dirty under a lot of pressure right here, and he'll be taken out of the picture. It's the Orms, the double Orms setup working out for 999. They're into B. They get the plant down, but it's a very messy round. You've got players all over the place. Individual duels being won. And bringing it back maybe into a winnable scenario here for TBI. It all slows down now. It's going to have to be a big rotate from TBI, and I'm not sure about that from Minchin. Why is he making that play? They had the site, and it's such a long rotate for TBI, but they've given up 2 quick kills here, and now it's a much more winnable round, even despite that time factor. QJK just gonna have to bide it as much as possible, gets the first kill, can't get any more than that, and I have to say, Kyle, that's a massive mishap from 999 in the post plant. They really didn't need to be that aggressive, and in the end, giving up those extra kills to TBI just allows them to move a little bit quicker back into that site and make the retake happen. So we'll go to overtime instead of a map victory for 999.
Yeah, it's a bit unfortunate for the 999 squad. They had everything in their hands to try and win this one in regulation, but now I might actually favor TBI going into this overtime. They're the team that seems to handle things a little bit better when the pressure is on, and that's kind of been the downfall of 999 all season long, is just when it feels like they're on the cusp of doing something incredible, they kind of let things slip in the final moments when they really need a solid round. So at this point, it does put that pressure back onto 999 as we go into overtime to really prove what they can do here, because when I look at the map pool also in this series, I think this is the best chance map for 999 as well. So if they don't win here, I think there's a really strong chance they go down 0-2 in this series.
How much of a beat have 999 missed with that one? Chance for a reset, though, before going into OT. It's obviously been a pretty chaotic finish to the game, to be fair. You know, we had a lot of pretty, I would say, crazy rounds, the way things played out.
Yeah, no doubt they're a very crazy regulation finish, but For both of these teams, it's a chance to prove what more they can do in this overtime situation. And TBI not wasting a lot of time putting that early pressure onto the A bomb site. It's really only a solo player hold though, and this is where 999 are taking a big gamble in the opening round. 4 players positioned towards the B side of the map.
Penguin starts it off nicely. Hunt trying to follow suit with a very long spray down. He will get himself the kill. And it's another chaotic round, isn't it, Carl? It's just fights in multiple areas of the map. Back to a 3-on-2 though, so TBI can't be too disappointed with the proceedings thus far. They worked hard to get it into the overtime, and now they are finding their reward.
Yeah, now it's a 1-on-3 situation. Flair's going to be isolated on the back of site. Good for a first kill. He knows King's in the corner as well, but doesn't know where the lurker's going to be, and this is what makes this so difficult. He has to take a bit of a risk here to go for the fight. King, will he go for the peek, though? And Flair makes a smart decision, actually. Goes for the full rotate, wants to play the long range with that Om in hand, and I don't blame him here, but not sure if I like this decision to wrap it from Hotel. It gives TBI the opportunity now to switch the bomb plant, and that's exactly what they're going to do, rotating the C4 back towards A, and now this becomes a much more difficult retake than maybe it needed to be, because Om in hand retaking this A bomb site is a bit of an uphill battle.
Most definitely. I feel like this man has been fighting an uphill battle this entire game, trying to get 999 over the line. It's been a phenomenal map from him, but it might still not be enough. At the end of the day, it is a team game. Can't just be relying on the shoulders of one player. He's going to have to give it a crack, but it's a long rotate. You know, it cuts off sort of 10-15 seconds of this defuse timer as it is. Missing the shot on the King. Oh. Well, won't even give himself a chance in the end. TBI get one more.
Yeah, it's another tough round here for 999. You can see they're trying to put in the work, but when the pressure is on, TBI, you've got everybody stepping up to make sure this one happens. Dirty, especially in these high-pressure situations, a really strong performer for the TBI lineup, and this is where TBI just have to keep that composure. They might be able to take away a map that definitely shouldn't have been theirs, but in overtime, they're already playing the stronger game, and this is where we may see some risk start to come in for 999 to try and even up the score. Favor going for this push on B long. He has to play the timing perfectly, though. King on this opposite corner. He's going to go checked here. Favor making the smart call. Peeks through, checks the corner, gets the opener.
There's another one. 999. Over-aggressed though, because Penguin is waiting. He bides his time nicely. Could swing to at least retrieve one frag back in the favor of TBI. Minchin on the push was unexpected by Booker. So many individual plays happening all over the map at any given time. Now it's Hunt's turn to try to walk into A solo. I don't know about you, Carl, but the team cohesion I think is a bit off for both teams. And a lot of these rounds are just being dictated by whose individuals find the better timings.
Yeah, it's a very scrappy back and forth in a lot of these rounds, so I wouldn't say Penguin and Hunt are out of it just yet, but they have a really similar problem in overtime that we saw in regulation, and that's the C4 is down, and Min, he's the player that has control over the C4's position, and it kind of leaves Penguin on an island here to try and see what he can do, but he is completely surrounded and gets spotted out there by Dane, and it's already back to a tie, and this is where we've got a key round on our hands here. The back and forth has to be settled in this final round of that first half in regulation, or in overtime here, but the way things have been happening is just so much individual play, you really don't know which way it's going to lean.
Okay, Dane taking one back early. And I agree. I have, at this point, got no idea which way this map is going to end up going. And as far as the rest of the series is concerned, yeah, I also have my reservations about making any kind of prediction. for this round at least, it's looking pretty good for Triple Nine. Dane doing some real work with the Orm in hand. He's going to go for more. He's going to keep having a look. I mean, you're up 4v3. I don't know if they necessarily need to be quite so aggressive here, Triple Nine, but you want to keep putting that pressure on TBI. JK able to survive backing around the corner. TBI not having too much success with these probing moves into middle.
Yeah, now it's going to be a full A push coming through for the remaining players. It's going to be Flair holding on to the bomb side here. He's been pretty successful throughout this matchup so far, but the solo hold with the is not an easy one to have go his way, but what a first shot to take down Dirty Spots. Hunt gets the second kill, Favor there for the third, and that's the luxury they have right now. When you have a player that's having a pop-off match, you put him alone, let him frag out, and let the rest of the team play together.
Even as we go through that first half of the overtime, Triple Nine still kind of keeping their noses in front, which was obviously the case in regulation. They weren't able to close it out there, but they might get a second bite at the cherry.
Yeah, I mean, at this point for TBI, it's I'm trying to figure out how they're going to find a way to shut down Flair. I think he has 28 kills so far on this map, and he hasn't slowed down at all.
So say there, Hunt's got the picture from, I think that's from the CFS Grand Finals in, I want to say 2023, maybe even, not even 2024. I don't know if you recall, but I think 2023 had that orange color scheme a little bit more. 2024 was like the bluer color scheme. So I'm guessing that's a 2023 photo. But motivational picture, maybe? Let's take a bit of a look at that one and say that's what we're fighting for. Obviously early in the year to be thinking about that, but at the end of the year, that is always the goal for all of these players on this circuit. And BYK for Triple Nine, starting things off nicely here in the second half of the overtime. There's aggression out from Hunt. Another solo push. It is brought down, and that is going to be the flood into the A site. Triple Nine getting the exact round that they would have liked. They have the A site, and they should be going up 2 rounds available for them to close this map out. Once again, they get another bite at that cherry. Like I said, and this time, they will not be wanting to let it go any further into, in this case, the golden point.
Yeah, this is their opportunity. They had a couple rounds to do it in regulation, and they couldn't find a way through. But this time, they seem to be looking a little bit stronger in this overtime situation. And a lot of that has to do with the continued success of the arms here in overtime. Booker able to find one with Hunt underneath the A staircase. I'm not sure why Min just kind of went in by himself there, trying to go for a bit of a sneak play, but when there's 3 defenders on the A bomb site, there's just no way that's going to go unnoticed. And DRS able to find one onto Hunt. Booker good for a second in this round. I believe that's his first multi-kill round of the entire map as well, so a good time for him to come to life and maybe be that difference factor that they need to get this one all the way through. But the mid-fight could be key here. It's going to be Flair trying to sneak his way into the fight on Dirty, but it baits out Dane for a perfect shot to find an opening out on the B-bomb side. However, the C4 is alone in mid. Favor gets the turnaround anyways, and they are set up perfectly to try and seal the deal now.
2v3, not easy, and certainly not going to be made any easier by that shot. It's not quite finished off just yet, but Booker, he would need to pull off a miracle round, and he has been noticeably absent in this map for TBI, so the aforementioned expected result will eventually come out to play there for Triple Nine, and they do get that map done and dusted. It was a bit of work, has to be said. It was a bit of work, but one on the board for Triple Nine, and they are now on their way towards potentially their first series victory of the season.
Yeah, really a solid run at it. You've got to give a big shout out to Flair there. I believe he ended with 32 kills on that map. One of the best performances individually we've seen from anyone all season long. You have that kind of combination, but on the other side, Booker, I think one of the weakest performances we've seen all season long as well. Just really tough one for TBI because it felt like outside of Booker, TBI played really well in this first map.
Yeah, Booker definitely went missing, which is not great at all for TBI. I was sort of highlighting that at the start, where it felt like TBI, they were kind of keeping a pace with 999, and all it really took is him to maybe come back online, and that could be the difference maker where TBI then starts to escalate and eventually pull out ahead. But didn't end up happening. Obviously, TBI, I think in general, kind of fell off a little bit there as well. But 999, yeah, a little bit to be said for them picking up that first map. So we'll take a little break here, Kyle. We've got a little wait for that next map, and then we'll jump back in. But we'll hear what the analysts have to say before then as well.
welcome back to the analyst desk. And my, was that a game,
Yeah.
man. I really think 999 might secure their first win here. What do you think?
I can't agree more, man. It's a long but deserved win for Team 999. I think mainly because it was an absence of Booker and Shining Star, man, aka BYK, with 24, maybe 25 kill, man. With 2.58 KDA. You don't get this every day. When it was 6-0 from Team 999, he had 14 kills with him, man. 14 kills, and he plays with the sniper. I think CrossFire is mainly focused. If you have a good sniper and two support AK players lurking, you're good to go, man. You're good to go, and that was a prime example with the name of 999. And keep in mind, that map was picked by TBI.
Yeah, I mean, even when it comes to TBI and 999, like, the roster seems good, but at the end of the day, I feel like 999 is finally getting their chemistry together and managing to play together at the same time, and you can tell that just by the scoreline. But it was pretty close. The match finished 13-10, and if you think about it, I don't know much about TBI when it comes to the sense of the critical errors that they really did throughout this game, you know, and previous games. It's just like, why would you go in at a disadvantage, or why would you push without double peeking and so on? Like, just a lot of errors, to say the least, you know. And I'm pretty sure that 999 initially, the first few rounds, they managed to study their opponent, they managed to understand who are the aggressors, and mentally read each other and reach a point where they can secure the win.
And it made me question, why did TBI pick Ankara? Because their performance said that, okay, that's not our map, we don't feel comfortable on this map. Lots of players were underperforming, if not all of them, but managing to get to overtime and managing to, you know, impress some rounds against a team like 999, and you're underperforming, that means that TBI are individually great. They can take us to map 3.
I hope so. Why not? I mean, 3 games would be even better for us as entertainment and the audience, and for both teams, so they can get some more experience going down. And I feel like 999 had a lot more aggression when it comes to this. You know what I mean?
Yes, Mention, for example, had a triple kill on 2 different rounds. BYK was super aggressive with the sniper. I don't see a lot of aggressive sniper players like BYK and Snare, Sad, and many more. When you play with a sniper, you're always passive with your gameplay, man. But anyways, they were underperforming a bit, TBI, and managed to get overtime. So the question is, will we see map 3, Koshari?
Nah, honestly, I have to say it. I think 999 is just going to secure this dub and move on to the next stage. And so will we. We're going to move to our casters. Thank you so much.
All right, well, you heard it there on the desk. A bit of mixed feelings on who's going to win this. I know we were kind of the same way as well. I wanted to get your sense now. You seemed pretty confident in favor of TBI going into the first map. Do you still feel like there's a chance they're going to pull this one off now after seeing that first one?
Oh, look, I wouldn't say I was super confident in the favor of TBI in that first map, but yeah, I definitely was leaning in that direction. I'll give you that. I think that map was close enough to make me believe that there's definitely a world where this could still go either way. But yeah, 999, outside of a couple more awkward scenarios, I think generally speaking were the better looking team. Penguin, as an individual though, has been pretty decent. C4 left. C4 left. If you're going to play though that quickly towards the B site, why are we leaving the C4 back like that? Now QJK is going to have to make this cross solo. Luckily for him, QJK getting that timing onto Penguin. This is just another mess of a round, honestly, Kyle. But to start things off, it's looking nice and easy breezy for 999 after that post-plant 3v2. But very quickly getting brought back on in. And all it takes is a couple of quick shots in here from TBI to turn this situation back on its head.
Yeah, the time is starting to slip away, but Favor able to hold the line for the first, and Dane through the box, able to find the second, and that's where the momentum of the first map is a nice little advantage to take into this BL side. The BL side usually a lot harder on this map than the GR, so already winning the first round is definitely a nice confidence boost for 999 to try and roll forward with. And This is where TBI is going to change things up a bit here in round number 2, going for that earlier control on the B tunnels, whereas 999, they're not going to go too fast in the second round, playing more of a pick-based setup and waiting to see where things fall. The big problem I see here is there's only one person holding the B side of the map right now, and that is Booker, which after last game, I don't know if that's a safe play for them at this point.
Nade into middle. Hasn't really landed onto 999. It looked like it was going to be a good one, but not a huge chunk of damage there. So slower approach from 999 this time. Just going to try and work middle. But in the corner this time. Able to make it work onto Minshen, and that'll life a little bit easier for TBI. Safer than a load, so Booker's having some impact on this map. Dana and Chris are going to try and salvage it. They've still got a lot more work to do. It's essentially going to have to be a 2v5 from them. Now maybe a 1v3 from Chris is required. But not interested in going to the B-bomb side. And making the right call to just quickly make a shift over, a pivot over to A. If he just keeps going in this trajectory, he'll get himself a bomb plant. Deciding actually to set up outside of B and wait for someone to come looking for a bit of info.
Bit of a risky peek there. I'm surprised nobody was on the other side to meet him on that swing, and it should give him at least the confidence to maybe sneak his way back towards A, but he actually thinks because of it the B-bomb site might be open. He spots King though in the corner, but a 3-way peek not going to be something he can break his way through. So really good round to respond there from TBI and keep things nice and close. A lot of it came down to this mid-pitch play though. Penguin, Booker, and Hunt doing a good job of setting up this trap.
So 1-1. Similar start to the last map. We're probably going to be following that same trajectory as well. A very, very tight map. Hard to say who's necessarily going to walk away with the win until we get right to that point.
Yeah, I mean, for this map, I think the big difference in my mind is going to be, I don't think we're going to see another 30-kill map from Blair, especially on this one. Already down 0-2 at the start, goes down early on. He's not much of an AWM user as well on this map. You can see actually nobody in this round deciding to use the AWM here for the 999 side. So puts a lot of pressure on their shoulders to try and get these opening picks with the rifles in hand, but with Penguin in mid, there's just no luck to break through. He's already up to 5 kills in this first half, and it does force a bit of an awkward execution to start towards this B-bomb site. You can see there, DRS tries to sneak out, but it's not going to be enough to really find too much success. Booker already sneaking into that corner pocket position, might have a chance to catch him off guard, and then on the shoulder peek, able to catch him. Doesn't matter. Booker, good for the double kill and the round, and that is the life we were looking for him all along. He's really starting to step up here on the second map, and that could be enough for TBI to have a much stronger performance.
Yeah, possibly, for sure. That said, Port, a bit of a struggle for TBI when they played it against Anubis last week. Went down 10-4 on that map. Something to keep in mind. They've also got a loss to unKnights on it as well. So it hasn't been a particularly great map for them in the tournament thus far, but I would argue that those two opponents are also probably a little bit stronger than 999 are as well. So read into that what you will. It was a map that they did not play against one another in their last matchup. That was Subbase and Ankara, both going the way of TBI without requiring Port. Port was the decider. Shen now starting to look to make his way forward. There's a big rotate across from 999 players, but they're getting dislodged slowly but surely. Chris getting himself one on the entry as well. Penguin out of that smoke. Somehow he always doubles down. Numbers are there. 2-on-2. Hunt out from the smoke again, and a big kill from him. Good flood in the end from TBI, and they are holding strong on this GR side so far.
Yeah, for TBI, this is exactly the way they wanted to get the second map started. It really gives them a lot of opportunity to potentially take this to a third map in the series, but it is a GR-sided map, so this is the side you want to get that commanding lead on if you really want to push through, because that BL side is going to be a lot harder for TBI than this half has been. So it is going to be 999 already with the pressure play on A, able to take down King is kind of that solo hold, but again Hunt able to sneak his way through. Good for 2 already, good for the triple kill, and that is going to be a huge round for TBI to keep that momentum moving forward. 4-1 already, and just making quick work of this GR side so far.
I'm a bit surprised that no one's watching the smoke there for the push from Hunt. I think at this point, it's 999. You've now seen that a couple of rounds in a row where TBI are not afraid of flooding through that smoke, so you're going to have someone responsible for keeping an eye on that in the future. Bear in mind, though, this is a GR-sided map, so TBI, even though they're down 4-1 here, it's not looking great. It's definitely not the end of the world. Pick up another 1 or 2 quickly here, and they'll be right back into the discussion, but Penguin has been pretty indomitable so far. Dirty, nice cheeky one on Dane as well. 999 are not really doing themselves any favors by losing these players in these early exchanges so easily. I mean, that round just is an absolute nothing round, really.
Yeah, this map not looking too comfortable for 999, which is kind of surprising considering this was their pick in the series, so it's a bit bizarre to see them struggling so much. Maybe they're just really good at the GR side when we get to that point, but if you allow this to be an 8-1 half, it might not be a whole lot to work with on the GR side for them, so hopefully they can find at least maybe a 3-round half for themselves here to make it a little bit closer going into the second. But so far, the way TBI is controlling this map, particularly Penguin and Hunt holding down the midsection, it's just been so difficult for any momentum to get rolling. But you also got to compare that with a player who put up 32 kills in the first half, yet to find 1 in 6 round in the second for the side of 999.
See if things will change up in this one. 999 taking a pretty reserved approach once again. They do have mid control, sure, but flash in onto Hunt. Not going to catch him. It's not going to blind him. Went a little bit too deep into Hunt, as he is solid in the multi-flag position. It's so clean with these spray transfers. He's the one guy I wouldn't want to be running into in a position like that one in this game. 6-1. TBI making this map look pretty easy so far.
Right now it's going to be a quick collision. It's a collateral as well for Penguin, continuing to lay down the devastating blows. 999, they need something to reply back with, but it's just not there yet. 3-on-2 situation. Flare, CRS trying to find their way out of this one, but it doesn't seem too likely with King finding himself a nice little pick there. That's going to be up to Flare, the star player from map number 1, but struggling quite a bit on this map so far. Here comes the wide swing, and Dirty able to keep TBI in a fairly uncontested lead in this first half.
Yeah, I kind of just got to say, wrap it up at this point. Like, this map is just not looking like it's a contest at all. Even if 999 do get this last round, it's not enough. It's not enough out of this first half, and I don't see them getting it. Dirty, clean kill onto 1. But Dane, he's back in there to at least find an exchange. So it is 4-on-4. It's better than some of these other rounds have looked at this point. 9. Going to try for the A take once again. And this time they figured out that they've got to watch that smoke. And Dane is locked in. Look at him. Bomb plan's going to go down. 3-on-4 for the retake though. Minchin quite low. QJK and Chris also tagged up a little. That's a nice kill, however. We might be at least seeing a second here through a 999 on the BL side, which is still not enough, but it's better than the alternative.
Yeah, Penguin here, all alone, 1 versus 4. There's just no time to win this round, regardless of the kills, even though he's going to find himself a couple from this position. I think it's more so just planning for the first round of the second half at this point for TBI, because they know they've put in the work. It's now just closing the deal here. That second round at least gives 999 a chance here. A very slim one, but it's better than an 8-1 would have looked here going into the second half. If they can have a close to flawless performance on the GR side, which we have had a couple teams do throughout the season so far, this is still a winnable position. So TBI, they can't afford to assume the job's done just yet. That could be very costly here, but they are in a very favorable position.
TBI with a lot of space already, though, toward that A-bomb. Start the rotation coming through. I'd say maybe a little bit too late from 999. Player from the top of the slide, UIK, a little bit late on that one. And it has allowed TBI to continue to push their way forward and take that space. 999, I think, are going to be making an early exit here on port. This has been, like, how fast has this map been, Kyle? I feel like we probably not even gotten through like 3 or 4 rounds in some of the other games, and now and we're here 10 rounds in here on port. Like, it's been crazy. It's been so quick.
Yeah, it feels shorter than the first tech pause we had on map 1 today, to be honest.
Literally.
So, honestly, at this point, for TBI, they just got to keep this rolling forward. If they don't take their foot off the gas, this feels essentially over at this point. So, for 999, it's probably already thinking about map 3 in the back of their minds here, because both teams not looking the best on their map pick, but TBI have some new life in them and a lot to say here on map number 2. You can see Minchen going for the swing, almost able to find Dirty in mid, but nothing enough to get the job done just yet. Penguin, though, I've loved seeing him kind of play this hybrid role throughout the day. He's not afraid to bring out this bomb, and he's sitting on an 18-5 already as well.
Ooh. That's not going to help. That is not going to help 999. That 19-5, Kyle. Keep adding some plaudits to Penguin's name. Does slow down a bit, though, off the back of that. TBI need to figure out what it is that they're going to do to seal this round. Put it through to 9 and more or less confirm that we're going to a map 3.
You can see the pressure on the A-bomb site. The CRS who spots one on the cross, and it's not going to be enough to hold it off for now, but Min, that might be 2 kills onto Hunt and Booker. And now it's going to be Dirty who tries to sneak in unnoticed, and this is where Min needs to be able to hold on and check for this position, but Dirty, does he check down below? Yes, he does. That's a free kill onto Min. Picks up the C4, and now TBI have the positional advantage on the round. Dirty goes for the swing. Good for 2. Can he find the third? He's going to go for the double swing, though. Gets it done on the repeat. And look at the smiles there. TBI really feeling it after that.
Yeah, that was risky from Dirty. The second player that he got the kill onto. He did take that fight solo. Obviously, the swing was coming through from his teammate for the third exchange, so that one I can't be too critical of, but definitely a world where if he goes down there, C4 dropped up on the site with like 20 seconds left. Could have been a round that fell away from TBI, but it seems like they can do no wrong at the moment, as they're going to start this round with a 2-for-1 trade. 999 have just capitulated basically here on port. They have just been non-existent.
Yeah, honestly, just a really tough map for the 999 squad, and hopefully they've got their eyes set on better horizons for map 3, because if this is any indication where the series might be heading, it is not looking good for the hopefuls in getting their first match of the entire season for themselves. It looked good at the potential for map 1 going their way and winning it on TBI's pick, but for this being a 999 map pick, I do not feel good about this map 3 situation now, especially with how everybody on TBI has really stepped up here in this map. You've got Dane trying to get something done, but misses the first couple shots, finally able to secure one, but the rest of TBI walking into a fairly exposed bomb site, but Min again from the stacks, able to find himself a double kill. Dirty now left alone. He's clutched up before, but not this time around.
All right, not over yet. But a long road ahead for 999. I mean, it's not really worth even getting excited about a round like that one for 999 because it's only the start of something if it's actually something. Well, it might be. That's another good looking round for them. Penguin is once again watching the B push. There's nothing happening over there.
Yeah, a bit of an awkward position to be stuck in. C4 down in spawn as well, and he's kind of just hoping for the solo challenges here. He's going to find one. Dane goes for the wide swing, but now with the information, that'll be enough to find at least another round here, but you're talking about 7 in a row to bring it back. That is a tall order to fill.
Nine 4. Still quite a distance to go for 999, but he's getting closer. Dane taking a ballsy fight, considering how Penguin has been pretty much constantly watching that line and has been the standout player for the map. But Dane backing himself, getting still onto King, who just goes swinging solo. TBI are not making life easy for themselves in closing this map out. They probably should have got it done already.
Yeah, they had the opportunity to get this one done, but for TBI, they've also been another team that struggles to close out these matches all season long. They are giving up the opportunities right now to win it. Hunt has to do something in mid, not going to find anything. Booker alone, able to find himself 2, but with 9 HP and the C4 down, there's just no way to find this round. 3 in a row go the way of 999, and they are one step closer to making it happen, but that's the tough part of already being in a 9-2 position to kick off this run of rounds. One false move is all it takes for it to come crashing down.
Faster play from TBI this time around. It's been spotted out by Chris. He's going to dump some util in an attempt to slow it down. He has, if not slowed it down, at least turned it around as the rest of the push is going to go back through the mid. Inchen on the fast flank, catching Penguin off guard. I would be honestly starting to believe that this was possible if it were not for the fact that TBI were already on 9. If they were at 8 and 999 could afford to make one mistake here and still be able to push it through to OT and win, I could still argue that, yeah, maybe this is doable for 999, but all it takes is one bad round here and TBI just finishes this map off. I'm starting to believe, but I'm not quite there yet.
Yeah, it's so tough to think about 7 flawless rounds without any errors, but that's what's needed here to take it into OT. We'll see what TBI have to say in this 4v5 as they look towards a split onto the B-bomb site out of mid. You can see Dirty and Hunt starting to push through here. There is going to be CRS in the corner pocket, but they kind of walk right past him. There's an open opportunity now. Hunt good for 2, and that might be the map along with it. Unless Flare can move on here, he's going to be good for 1, but Booker able to find a nice exchange here in the B tunnels. Dane and Flare, 2 very strong OMs on the field to try and keep the dream alive, but Booker already has control over the B-bomb site. Dane going to be smoked off, the utility making it that much harder, but look at Flare's position. Could potentially catch the plant instantly, goes for the wide swing. Booker has to hang on to this position, and now the rotation has to be there from Dane. Flare needs some help, but it's not going to be there in time. 2-on-1, Dane stuck on the back of this bomb site, looking for any way he could possibly find to break through. He's already been spotted by Booker, and Booker, he's going to be able to get some shots onto him, but Dane somehow is still alive in this situation, but King thankfully there to seal the deal and take this to a map 3.
Yeah, look, it took a little bit longer than TBI might have liked it to have in the end, but still a pretty comfortable win regardless. And as you say, we are going to go through to a map number 3. TBI living up to their end of the bargain a little bit more so with that one. I think they will obviously be looking at this series, though, in a little bit of a disappointed light, thinking how close they were to potentially actually having had themselves a 2-0 here if they would have won that first map, which was very doable, knowing we went into the overtime. But either way, win's a win, you take it, and now it's time to start focusing in on to map number 3. Before we get there, though, we have to hand it back over to the desk and see what they have to think.
Wow.
It was a good game. I enjoyed watching it, and I really think that it was going to game 3. I had a feeling, you know, and I really hope that if either team wins, like it's more or less they gained the experience they needed to persevere in this series and to improve.
Man, honestly, I didn't think that things would take this turn. It's a huge turn. But honestly, watching the first game, TBI players wasn't 100% playing. I mean, we've seen Booker wasn't at his 100%, Penguin the same, same for Dirty and King. But once we jumped in the second game, Penguin was, it just feels like Penguin was unleashed, man.
Yeah, I think so too.
5th round, it was 5-0, and Penguin was on 13 kill with the sniper, man. And I remember there's one single round where I had a collateral kill. Killed 2 with 1 bullets, ending the game with 2.11 KDA. The guy played a live round, a live game, honestly, moving TBI to the 3rd game. And to be frank, after watching the 2nd game compared to the 1st game and how TBI did perform, because 999 did perform good on the 1st and the 2nd map, but TBI only performed well on the 2nd map. I'm gonna give this game to TBI, honestly, the decider map. And you need to put into consideration that port was picked by 999 and TBI did destroy them.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, TBI played really well. I think 999 put a lot of gas into game 1, but at the end of the day, TBI might seem like they deserve it a little bit more, and hopefully, inshallah, like, I don't know, like, I still can't decide who's gonna come out on top, you know, but I think TBI, because it's a decider map nonetheless, so I'm not really sure how comfortable both teams are on the next map.
I mean, if we speak about TBI, you would see them as the better team, because the first game for them, it feels like they didn't warm up for it. It was the warm-up game for them. They were just getting their sensitivity, feeling it, making sure they are ready for the game and everything. Yeah. And it was obvious from their scores and how they played. But the second match, though, second match started with a good Penguin IGL and kills. Just look at the highlights full of Penguin. 16 kills, 14 kills. Chris BYK did an insane first map, but I didn't see BYK with the sniper in the second match. I don't know why. How can a player turn from 0 to hero or from hero to 0 in one map? Although the map was picked by them, but I didn't see the main reason or the sole reason why was the map picked by Team 999. If anything, you reverse the roles. I'd say that this map was picked by TBI by the way they played, by the way they covered the angles, the aggression when they are on the attack side, and the disconnection from Team 999. It didn't feel like they played as a team. They would just go one after another, and meeting their faith.
Yeah, I mean, the consistency was there this match for TBI, not so much for 999.
Not at all, no.
And you did highlight Penguin as well, that he did a really good job. And man, to say the least, this guy's been in multiple teams performing exceptionally well. He's a 6+ year experienced lurker. And yeah, like, if they maintain this pace, I'm pretty sure that TBI might come out on top. But I don't want to discredit 999. Maybe they just had a bad second match, and we'll see based
honestly,
on the decider map.
I want 999 to get their first win. They had their first victory within the split. I mean, TBI did get their first win, and I want 999 to do the same thing. And the first map just tells you that 999 wants